I'm ready to be a punching bag. But I'm also ready to learn. That's what I'm most excited for. Also, do not be afraid to just like move this thing. It's very malleable.
Oh, it's very light. Oh, wow.
It is funny.
I used to do sound in high school.
Oh, did you?
Yeah, I was a sound girl.
So was that like for the morning announcements or?
No, like I did the musicals. I was stage crew manager.
Yeah, stage crew. Okay, yeah.
And then so I went to an all-girls Catholic high school, and I was like, to get out of assemblies, I did sound.
That's awesome.
I actually got hit by the nun once because my sound wasn't good enough.
That is harsh.
Yeah. Clearly, you can tell I went to an all-girls
This
school.
is not godly.
No. Oh, she's mean. Sister Lois. All right.
The Lord would be disappointed of your sound quality.
Yeah, so what do you think?
It's good.
You can
And then
critique.
also,
Yeah.
like, feel free.
Yeah.
This moves like this, and you could tighten and loosen it.
Oh, look at
And
that.
then you could tighten and loosen these.
Okay.
They go opposite each other, so loosen and tighten.
Okay. Easy enough. I just don't want like the sound to be like halfway through and you're like,
Oh, try to keep it like a fist away from your mouth. You can't have this thing too close, but you can't have it too far.
okay.
You have water. You're all set.
Yep, I got everything. Got the book.
I'm so excited to be beaten up by your diary.
You're not.
All right, I'm going to bring us in, and then I'll introduce you.
Okay.
I think we'll probably end with the book.
Yes, that's
That way it could be like an attention.
attention
grabber.
grabber. Oh yeah.
Okay.
I had to rewrite. I was reading it. I can't even read my own handwriting.
Well, probably as you came home. It's like 11 o'clock. You're like, all right, I got to be consistent and keep up with this thing.
Well, I wasn't like, oh, whole other thing. I wasn't consistent. My mom's like, you've been on, like, I've been counting. You've been on 32 dates. I'm like, no, I haven't. And then I was like, 1. I was like, oh, yep, you're right, Mom.
So, do you share your book with your mom?
No, these are like the same. They're not like diaries.
Okay.
They're like snippets. Like, okay, like this person, I slipped on water on the date. I flat out passed out like on the water, and then it's like we went to Lager and Vine. Oh, he's a golfer. Like medical sales, like snippets. So then
they're just notes.
Yeah, they're just notes, and then I'll be like,
Oh, I thought they were. This was like a.
Oh, it's not like Dear Diary. I was
gonna say a diary of like.
No, but then I have like the notes of like, oh, this person did this. So, yeah.
I have hopes for what what my critiques are, because then at the very least it means that I'm self-aware.
Oh my gosh. Stop.
But then I also fear of the critiques that are totally unbeknownst to me. You know, like I'm at work.
Yeah.
And there's like, I'm a pretty sociable person, and I can do a good job of making connection with all different types of people, different ages, demographics, everything. And I make such a personal connection with these people that they get very comfortable, and they'll vent about, can you believe so-and-so? And, but I also know that's a piece of work life. And so people bitch about everybody all the time. So they're not just bitching to me, they're bitching to everybody. And I can't be the only one that sits there and wonders all the time, like, okay, this is what you said about so-and-so, so-and-so. What are you saying about me?
Yeah.
Like
you just want to know.
I can't be like universally 100% loved.
Right.
So and I know it'll hurt.
Yep.
But also it's the only place to begin growth.
Right.
So like I want to keep becoming like this. I want to put on a good show. I want to entertain you. I want to grab your attention. But I'm not doing this for you. Like, I did all this work from the moment I got home. I put this thing together. I haven't stopped. Because I love it, and I'm doing it for me. But you have to, as like a content creator, find a delicate balance, because you can't just have a market of like 200 people in one local area. If you want to be the next Andrew Schultz or Joe Rogan, you have to appeal to everybody. So what's funny is my critique to someone like Joe Rogan is that he appeals. That's not the real you. I know you're lying. I've listened to you for 15 years. I know that wasn't what you were before.
Yeah.
But then the reality is he may be putting on a character, but that's because he's building a brand. He's building something that's not supposed to just appeal to what he likes.
Right.
But to what everybody likes. And that's something I'm trying to learn from and grow with, because I just want to do what I want to do. I want to, I want to make myself laugh. And I also liked the purpose of the project was to be able to say what I wanted and be able to, push buttons. And it was to fight a PC culture. Well, also, you got to respect that that's not things people like. So if you're going to keep using the R word because you and your friends love it, also respect that there are people that truly hurts. Are you willing to shut the door on those people? It's a weird thing.
It is.
It's a weird thing. Long rant. Anyway, you ready to start this thing?
I am ready.
All right, let's begin.
So I love that term, think tank. Think tank. I mean, you know what a think tank is? Like, how's a think tank go, Jim?
Yeah, they got cancel culture nowadays. You gotta watch what you say. It's getting real scary out here.
Yeah, I don't think so.
I don't know if I can take the conversation here, but we might as well. It's the Rethink Tank. Looks like you had a little bit too much to think here in the Rethink Tank.
Hey, what's going on, everybody? And thanks for joining me again. We're enjoying a beautiful summer evening, and it's time to grow as a populace, both male and female, especially with where we're at in society today, at each other's throats. We're living in a dating age where we're confused and lost more than ever before. You used to be able to just go to the malt shop, dress up to the nines, flex a little bit, show your dance moves, and you could take the girl to the kissing corner in your convertible. But times have changed, and now you got to worry about your apps and your social medias and the swipings and your pictures and all these things that have totally complicated the scenarios. And then there's a whole social aspect where we have hookup culture and we have the Me Too situation where people need to start respecting each other more. And there's a whole onslaught of new social changes, and we're all learning. So what better way to learn than just have a simple conversation about it? To do that, I brought a friend of mine and somebody that can speak from experience and tell me where I failed. But a good friend of mine, Jackie, how are you today?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing great. I am very eager. At the end of the episode, Jackie has a journal that she has been taking notes on her dates. And, of course, I have found myself in the book, and I can't wait to either learn from it or be disappointed in myself. But that is to come, so stay tuned. Otherwise, let's begin with something, Jackie, you had sent me.
Oh, yes.
Let's get to, there's this post that it's a graph of, there was a poll for male and females discussing what men think women prefer in terms of where they get hit on, locations, and how, and then what women actually like or expect. So it's the percentage of straight women that are receptive to a man striking up a conversation at this location, and the percentage of men that think women would be receptive to a man striking up a conversation here. So what's interesting is that the most ideal across the entire graph, which shouldn't be a surprise to anybody, is mutual friends. Both men believe, but even more so than that, women more emphasize that the best place to find them, the most ideal place to approach a woman would be through mutual friends. And then what's also interesting, the hidden gems that, men neglect, but that women kind of seek it. I bet you didn't realize that most women are very receptive to being approached in coffee shops, farmers markets, bookstores, and grocery stores. But men aren't realizing it. To me, that just tells me you read too many romance novels, and you watch way too much rom-coms. Oh my God, I want to be getting my coffee, and he just
comes up. It just comes up to me, and just everything's all good and dandy. Yeah.
But do you agree with that so far? I think that makes sense. The mutual friends part, obviously.
100%. That's how your ideal situation. That's when the dating apps don't work, is the first question is, my friends, husbands or fiancés or boyfriends, oh, do you have any single friends for me? And the answer is, no, or they're not good enough for you.
So I guess that's why you start at this point.
Yeah.
We start talking. The conversation begins at the best place to approach the female
Yep.
because that's what we're combating. We are so pigeonholed to these algorithms. I'm going to LA at the end of the summer in September to do a podcast with a gentleman who works in Silicon Valley.
Oh, nice.
He works for Tinder. I very much want to pry into, can we admit that you are definitely categorizing people? Like there's pretty people, handsome people, and then the uggos. And I know which category you put me in, algorithm. And I have no problem with that. But the reality is, at least acknowledge that is what's going on. Like Hinge, I don't think
100%.
females realize men have to pay to see relatively attractive females.
No, you
Swear to God.
I've never
Like,
spent
to come
money on-
across you,
Yeah.
you had to pay to find, 100%. Unless you're probably in the algorithm delineated an Abercrombie model.
This is fascinating because I
Because-
didn't have to do that.
Oh, my God.
Oh, Bumble I paid for because that's a whole other story. But yeah.
But again, that one I paid for. This one I didn't. It's all insane.
Yeah.
You're paying $50 to swipe on people who are going to be like, oh my God, his first thing he said to me was, hey, what's up? Or how's it going? I'm better than that. And then what's hilarious is then when the tables are turned, you go to something like Bumble, and the females are like, hey. It's like, wait. On every other app, you get to belittle and judge my first statement. I have never matched with a woman or a female that has not started with, hey.
Really?
Swear to God,
Well, if
Bumble is laughable.
If we met on Bumble, if we met on Hinge, if we met on Bumble, I had like a list of questions I would ask.
See?
And then I think that's the thing with me is that I didn't want the hey, what's up? Because I asked my brother who was on them, or probably still on them. I don't know with John every day. But with him, he was like, yeah, girls always do that. I'm like, really? Like, that was the first thing. That's the reason why I joined Bumble, because then I can start like a conversation like that.
But see, I got to tell you, swear to God, you're an anomaly. Totally. Because it's laughable how I will start a conversation. How do you one? These conversations are just
So
circular
boring.
and boring. And so what I want the first message to be is, I think you're cute. This is stupid. Let's go out to drink or get a coffee, or I'll buy you dinner. The other side to it though is too, this shit is so expensive. Nobody wants to talk about how expensive the single life is.
Oh.
Like 90% of why you start dating someone, so you can be like, all right, I'm not paying $150 every night anymore. Like, I don't know. That's part of it. And to me, you get stuck in these circular conversations that lead nowhere. If you're too forward, then they disengage because, wow, this guy's so forward. And then if you're like, okay, I don't want to scare her. This one I really like. And it's just like, do you know how many times I've had dates set up and the day of, they just unmatch and disappear?
No, I
Swear to God.
That has
Insane.
That has happened to me, but I don't think of the day of.
Oh my God. That has happened enough times for it to be a thing, and I don't believe there's anything more crushing because
sad.
there's no way to find this person.
Right,
You're
right.
just like, and then you just, there was this one person we talked for like a week. This was probably like a month ago. And you just go, I was really hitting it off with you.
Right.
None of these boxes you check really matter, but we also do vibe. Like, we kind of match on a lot of things. We'd probably get along. What possibly changed this day of other than, so there's been times where that day, I pulled my phone out of my pocket and the app was up. And so you're sitting there just going, oh God, I just hope that I screwed up and unmatched her, because then it wasn't something
Then
she
it's you.
discovered
Right.
something on my Instagram or something that, like, how does that happen? And I don't know. You just don't want to be in that position.
No, I mean, that's a big thing. I mean, I know I have dates where I'm like, I don't want to go. Like, I just, in my nut. It's
That
like,
I've been.
Or I've been in the situation where I'm like, oh, that was too soon. I should not have agreed to that. And then it's like 2 days later, and I'm like, I'm getting ready after work. I'm like, I don't want to get ready. Or I'd be like texting my mom or texting my friends like, oh, I'm regretting this.
Now, I'll admit, I'm in that position when I'm trying to hang out with my best friends. Like, people that I actually know very well and care about. Sometimes the day of, I'm like, I'm just not feeling it. But
because then you have to get, like, for me on the dates, like, I always had a routine. Like,
yes.
I might be, like, I'm too type A probably for most people, but I always had to have, like, I, like, pick on my fingers, like, when I get nervous. Always had to, like, stick on nails, because if I do that, then I won't be doing that on the date. Then I always had, like, a set outfit. Like, in the spring or summer or winter, like, I had a set outfit sometimes, majority of the time, like, depending on what we were doing. So I did that as well, but it was a whole thing. It was all, I mean.
Well, it all is, you know, like.
It's all a show, and then you're like, ugh. And then some people aren't their true selves when you meet them. You're like, that's what you are in real life.
Well, and that's the other scary part of it is one, on a social here's layers to this. The person you are dating, like, you know, out on these like one-on-ones for the first month or two, is not the same person you are when you're yourself with your friends, whatever, in a social setting. And then you're not either of those people online on a social media, you know, on a swiping app. So like none of this that we are exposing you to is the real you until you are trapped like 6 months down the line, and then the real, you know, walls come down, and then you get to know the real person. You're like, what did I get stuck with? So I feel like we've damned ourselves, because you have to find yourself in a deep commitment before you can even, I don't know, engage with the real person.
And it's so expensive too. Like the cost alone, like I know with me, like when I go on dates, like I try to like pay something at least. Like, I mean,
Yes,
we've been on several
I
dates.
appreciate that.
And that was something like I remember we went to like the Indians game. We're like, don't pay for parking. I just like here's my credit card. Like you're paying.
And at the time, it was the Indians game.
Yes,
we need to emphasize that.
It was like one of the last Indians games.
It was.
Remember how empty it was?
Oh my God. And we had it was $1 dog night and like $2 beers before the game.
It was.
And we just stocked up on Miller Lights.
Yeah.
That was a hell of a night.
That was fun. And we went to the Cleveland.
That guy, Doug, or whatever his name is, there's some guy that's like, I don't know, is an aspiring, that's the word I was fishing for, an aspiring actor in Cleveland who seats people. And
he was hysterical. You
dancing.
became best friends with him by the end of the night.
And he kept checking. He's like, add me on Facebook. And you're like, all right. And then he's like, did you add me on Facebook? I didn't get a referral request yet. And you're like, all right. And then he came back. He's like, dude, add me on Facebook. I'm like, all right, dude.
Well, at first he thought Instagram, and then he's like, no, Facebook. I was like, all right. Like, going back to Facebook here.
Right.
That was fun. I was thinking, like, every date we went on, like, we met somebody. Like,
yes, we did.
Like, remember the first date we went on was
Michelangelo's.
Then my two friends, my sorority sisters, come over. And, you know, like, it was funny. I've been on, like, a couple dates with, many, many dates ago, the guy, and he was like, we ran into somebody he knew, and he's like, oh, I'm not introducing you to them. I'm like, come on. Like, I'm a friendly person.
Why?
And I was like, so when that happened, I was like, come on over, Teresa. Come on over, Jess.
Okay. Because you know what, I think a lot of times, like that type of person, it just speaks to me that you're in this for the superficial aspects of this.
Right.
If you're trying to find your princess, or in your case, your prince, like, you have to accept you're kissing a lot of frogs. Like, you got to go through, and the beauty of that is you find out more what you don't like than what you do, and that helps you be more prepared for the next person that comes and enhances your expectations. The sad part is, though, I think the vast majority of people get caught up in that. They're not biased because they have preferences, are just sexual things that we prefer.
Right.
It is what it is. So it's the way you pose it, but I do think people get caught up in the superficial aspect of what people think
100%.
versus what they think.
Yeah, I have some friends where it's like, they have to be 6'4", blonde, this and this. And me, it's like, I kind of look back, I'm like, yeah, do all the guys I've gone out with like look similar? Maybe. But honestly, like within the past like several months, it's been like a diverse group of guys I've gone out with. And I'm kind of like, I'm happy I did that, because I'm like, I learned about their culture. I learned about themselves. But I think, I don't know, I kind of figured out, like, you know, 'cause it's like what you like and what you don't like.
Right.
And it's been very interesting.
Well, it's so funny. Recently, this was like, actually, like, not that recently, probably last January. There was this girl that I went to high school with. She's over 6 feet tall, but she's like a model. So growing up, I had the biggest crush on this girl. And finally, you know, she comes back from overseas. She was doing some modeling thing, and now I'm home from law school. We start hanging out, and I always had a vendetta against this narrative of, like, your guy can't be shorter than you, because it was like an impossibility. I would never be able to date this girl because I'm shorter than her, and I just need her to get over it because I'm over it. And I think taller girls are beautiful. Oh, my God, all of this stuff.
Right.
And it is funny, you know, it's that carrot that you can't catch that you always chase. And then finally, going on all these dates with this girl and everything, first off, hilariously, my mom and my sister laugh all the time. I couldn't get over the way she ate chips and, like, cheese. It was driving me up a wall. You dip it.
Yeah,
You dip.
Right.
She was just shoveling. Scooping is an understatement.
It was like,
and you're just like,
overflowing.
and just like, like, you know, it's not like delicately, like just, and you're like, hey, there's people around. Yeah. But aside from that, the carrot that you're chasing that you can never catch, then you finally have that carrot, and it just didn't work. You know, it just, you were one of, it was like, okay, it makes sense. There is a biological basis to why there's this preference, because it's just physically, I felt like this is going to sound so weird, but like she was my mom. Like I was a child, like, hello, mommy. Like I was just too small. And I'm bigger than her. I'm definitely stronger than her in terms, but just like, her feet hung out longer than mine. And just the little things where, like, her chin was, like, here. And you're just like, it just doesn't work. Yeah. Versus where you're probably used to that, right? Yeah, somebody larger than you. Whereas I'm used to, like, someone that's, like, smaller than me. Yep. That it's just this weird thing. And then when you flip it on your head, you're like, oh, wait, I actually don't like this. I thought I always wanted it, and it is not for me.
Yeah. I agree. I went out with a guy recently, and he was like 6'4", and I was like, and I never go out with tall guys. I'm like, oh wow. He hugged me to go out to my car and hugged me, and I was like, oh, Jesus. I was like, oh, hello.
But did you like that, or did you want someone closer to you?
For me, that was weird because I always date like shorter guys. I was like, okay, I think I like to stay at that height, like 5'7".
But see, then the other killer is where you're going out with a girl and she's like 2 inches shorter than you, right? Like I'm 5'10", so 5'8" is considerably a taller girl, but like also pretty median. And they all don't just want you to be taller than them. They want you to be taller than them on heels. And you're like, damn it, I can't win.
Oh, that's true. I mean, that is very true. I remember, like, back even in high school and prom, I'm like, oh, no, I'm going to be taller than my prom date. He wasn't that tall, but my heels were like a kitten heel. And I was like, oh, my gosh, Mom, I'm going to be taller than him. In the pictures, we were fine.
I bet.
Fine.
But those are the things we think about, right?
That is true. Like, that's an honest opinion. Like, you actually think about that type of stuff.
It is funny. And then all of it's superficial. But again, what it really is just keep kissing your frogs. Like that, you're only going to learn your preferences by.
Yeah, and it's like, it's hard. I mean, you hit those slumps, and it's like, you like
lonely.
It's lonely. You not hate yourself, but you're
but
like,
you do.
But you're just like, what did I do wrong? Or for me, most of the time, I was always the one that said no. Like, if a guy was like, we had to go on a date and be like, oh, we had such a great time. And it's like, within the first, like, I don't know about you, but, like, within the first, like, 5 minutes, I know if I'm going to go out with this guy again or not.
And how about that? Sitting there knowing I'm still going to pay for this. That sucks.
And that's another thing, too. I don't know about you, but, like, for me, like, a first date, as a girl, I prefer drinks. I
wish, but you know what? The other side to it, too, is I think this conversation,
Mm-hmm.
we probably align logically too much.
Yeah.
And I truthfully do not think, this is now me projecting, but I do not think you are an accurate depiction of the mass.
That is
Because most girls, we will get to this, but like most girls, especially in this victim Olympics we live in, are dying to find their victimhood. They're just f***ing dying for it. And so every girl, and the media doesn't help. Social media, the television, everything is making everybody hyper afraid that you can't trust a guy. I mean, can you believe that a female in the 60s, where women were just disappearing and being found on the side of the road, would let a stranger pick them up, take them out with no GPS, no cameras, nothing, and expect to be brought home?
It's crazy.
And that's when the world was more dangerous and less accountable. And here, we're afraid of a guy coming up to us on the side.
I think it's okay for a guy to approach a girl and ask for her number.
I hate when men approach women.
So should a guy ever approach a girl in public?
I don't think so, no. It just is scary.
Is it too direct for like a stranger to come off the street or in a restaurant to say, oh, I think you're really interesting and get your number there? Is that...
Of course, because I had this type of situations. It's weird.
That coffee shop, the woman on the survey says, I want the guy to come up to me at the bookstore. But then when the guy on TikTok comes and throws a microphone in his mouth and goes, is it okay for a guy to pick you up in the public? And she's like, no, it's dangerous and I'm scared. I'm scared of boys. And you're like, wait, you can't have your cake and eat it too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I see. I would not want to be approached in public. I don't know about you, but when I'm like grocery shopping or if I'm on a task,
I'm on a mission.
I'm on a mission. I'm out
Damn
looking
straight.
I'm out looking at you. Like I went to like hide and seek. I went to where was I? I was like Kohl's this weekend or something, and this woman like stopped me. She's like, "Oh, I really like your dress." I didn't even say thank you. I just bolted. I was like, I don't know. It wasn't like stranger danger. Like she seemed like a really nice woman, but I was just like, I have no time to kill. I need to go to get to my next errand. Or even grocery shopping. Like I don't know. I don't know about you. I get like anxiety grocery shopping. Like I get cart rage. Like somebody's in front of me. I'm like, like I need to get around you.
I was just about to say, I will, when I go to the grocery store, I know what I need. Because if I don't, then I'm getting way too much stuff. So the only time I go there is when I have my checklist. I'm also somebody that has it all categorized, at least maybe not on the paper, but in my head.
In your head.
So I know I'm going across the store in order. The people I hate. The person that's just back and forth from that side of the store to this side of the store, to that side of the store, and that side of the store.
That's me.
The other person that I hate that's just looking. I'm just here to look. And I know you're probably listening like, I'm just here to look too. That's fine. But get out of my way. Because I have a mission. So my comment was going to be, I am always at odds or war with the person who's just there to rummage. And they're just like, oh, I'm going to come. And you're like, get out of my way. I'm going to the cans. Like, get out of my way. And I'm in a mood. Like, oh, man, that gets on my nerves.
But that, like, with me, like, sometimes there's people, like, want to do small talk. I'm like, I'm sorry, sir. I'm not here for small talk. So, like, if a guy came up to me at a grocery store, it's like, oh, hey, you're cute. And I would have been like, nope, stranger danger. Let me pick up my phone, call my mom, pretend I'm texting or something, and
Hello?
get the hell out. Like, that's just how I am. Like, and like that's another thing back to like the dating. Like, you know, that was something why I joined the dating apps because like I'm not the type of person that will go to a bar and be like, there's so much. I went to, where did I go recently? I went for my birthday. Went to Pins, right? Really cool place.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know if you've been there yet.
It's very nice.
It's like, I don't know, that's like the great like date place. I haven't been there. Like I haven't been there before.
It's very hard to get a reservation for their bowling alley.
I don't know. We got that for my birthday. I don't know what we did.
Well, it was probably well ahead. Did your friends do it or did you?
No, they just when we showed up did it.
Okay.
I don't know. It was it was a downpouring rain, so I think that's what helped us. But anyways, we were there and where am I going at with this? Like we were I was thinking to myself like if I was single like and somebody like I'm not the type of girl to go out and like dress skimpy or anything. Like I wouldn't be like, oh hello. Like if a guy approached me at a bar, I don't think that has never happened to me, actually, now thinking of it. It's never happened to me.
You know, what's funny is
I would respond.
it is beyond, like, this is probably going to be the most relatable thing for the male listener, but there is nothing more nerve-wracking for me, and I can talk in front of an audience. I will talk to the president. I don't care who's in front of me. I can talk to anybody and get no shakes. But if I am approaching a stranger with the intention of solicitation,
Right.
and not the legal solicitation, like schmoozing, we'll go with that words. It is nerve-wracking. And what's hilarious is every time you go up, it almost always works. And it may not turn into something. She'll give you her number, da-da-da-da, and then just blow you off down the road.
Right.
But even those moments where you approach someone and they're like, I'm not interested. When you're walking up, the fear of that blow, and then when it hits you, you're like, oh my God, that was nothing. And it's really hard to get over that first push, but it's hilarious when you finally do. For the night, you're like invincible. You're like, every person can now shit on me, and I will be pleased. Hey, you want to go? No, me neither. You? Yeah, nah, me neither. Yeah. And it's amazing how most of it is a mental game, and you're fighting yourself.
Yeah, I know. It happened to my girlfriends around me, but never happened to me. I don't know. I just never
I've never gotten hit on either, so if that makes you feel any better.
And that's kind of like the dating. Like, I knew, like, because I'm not from Cleveland, I'm from Buffalo, so, like, I knew, like, after college I was going to stay in Cleveland, and I didn't want to date anybody from college because I was in a long-term relationship, if anyone knows. It was a longer relationship than I thought it was ever going to be, and I knew I don't want to date anybody from John Carroll because they know me, they know who I dated. So, like, I was like, that was the one thing I was like, I'm not dating anyone from John Carroll. And for me, like, my small circle are my college friends, and they all dated, are married to their college sweethearts. So finding somebody outside of the Carroll bubble was like, well, the dating apps it is. Or I joined, like, networking in, like, the Cleveland 2030 Club when I was single. Because I was like, oh, this is great. So I play volleyball, which I still play. And that was one way to meet single people. But it was like the dating apps, this is it.
Well, and that's the problem, is too often or too quick you're forced to feel like the apps are all you have.
It's sad, yeah, and it's the truth.
And the problem is, and I think that's the case, now I'm at the end of this, you either made it happen in college, where you were around the most people at one time than you'll ever have in your life.
Right.
Once that stopped, the ability to even be exposed to those opportunities dried up so fast. And so you want to convince yourself that, like, yes, I can find somebody when we go out. But it literally is a zero. So, like, what do we do? And I guess maybe something to take away from that graph is recognizing that it is more welcomed in the regular. How about this one? Mm-hmm. So today I had to pick up some medication for my dad. And the pharmacist was this cute girl, and there's this dude who was, like, straight out of TikTok. I mean, he had the hair and just the too cool. And, like,
too cool for school.
Everybody was silent because this dude was just too cool. And it felt at first, because I'm just in line,
right,
like that this girl was just a sour bitch because this dude set a tone that she was feeding off of.
Right.
And I came up all smiles, shooting the shit with her, and she just, like, blossomed.
Oh.
And we were just laughing, and that's what I want to ask is, let's get to this graph, and it'll pose the question for me. So there's a whole section where men lack confidence.
Right.
In less stereotypically ideal locations, men consistently and significantly underestimate how receptive women would be to conversations. within here are professional sporting events, restaurants, vacations, amusement parks, volunteering events, airport, on the street, park, beach, Instagram, elevator, school camps. Okay. Nothing on here, though. Oh, wait. I want to go back. I want to go way back to the beginning, the hidden gems. We talked about, the hidden gems. Great places to find people, coffee shops, farmer markets, stores, and grocery stores. Amongst them, the next section was for younger women, where younger women tend to find the most intrigue. You ready for this one? The bookstore and work conferences.
Well, okay, to be honest, with work conferences, I'm the only woman.
That's what I'm saying. So,
because, for me, in my industry, I'm in manufacturing, and I'm in program management, and there's not many of us.
So where is the line? Okay, when you're in the workplace and they work with you, that's a no-go because you're stuck. You're going to be there with each other at all times. It's uncomfortable. But what about the instance where you're working and I'm not, and you're never going to see me again?
Yeah.
So you say no and I'm gone. If you say yes, we'll hang out again.
Right.
But also, you're at work, and there's this back to the women's victimhood. There's also this narrative that comes out that's like, I'm just trying to do my job. I just want to get home, and I don't want to be hit on as I'm just trying to be men don't get hit on as they're trying to be functioning members of society. Why do I get hit on? So, again, women also need to recognize the 50 million things we're getting yelled at in the checklist in our head. So you're kind of like, okay, we shared a moment here. The worst thing that happens is you say no, and we move on.
Right.
The other side to it, too, though, is you could scream victimhood and try to end my ability to forever feed my family and ruin my career.
Right.
So that's what's going on in our head. The question then becomes, what's allowed? Like, what should I do? Do I just go, suck it up, buttercup, I'm going to be alone forever? We shared a moment, keep dishing out your pills, I'll catch you next time. Or do you shoot your shot and see where it goes?
I would just shoot your shot. Or reach out later. Like, maybe not right in that moment, but later. That's what I would do.
Well, how do you do that at, someone at their workplace? Like, if you're at the store.
Yeah.
How about this one?
Okay.
We go to Hofbrauhaus. I think you met my friend Kemp, didn't you? When we went down to the Browns game.
Yeah.
So, we, Kemp and I go to Hofbrauhaus, where there's a bunch of...
in years.
It is the greatest.
I need to go back.
Take me with you when you go, because an excuse for a giant stein. The Shotsky, I'll do it, just so everybody could stand up and we just had
the pineapple upside down cake. That was like what I used to get in college.
You know what blows my mind? How many people drink Jägermeister at Hofbrauhaus?
Really?
I have not had a sip of Jaeger since college.
Oh my gosh! I was like, there's some things in college like Jaeger or
there.
like Loopy. Like I can't even
Fireball. It's one of those.
Fruit
It
Loops.
stays in the past. Every once in a while, someone brings it back and resurrects it, and I can deal with it. But that's another one that should stay in the past.
I can't eat.
What is Loopy?
It's like 3 Olives came out with like a Fruit Loop vodka. It's basically Fruit Loops vodka, and I drank it my sophomore year with Sprite, and it was like the sweetest drink of my life. That was Rosie the Riveter on Halloween had too much fun that night. So I can't even eat Fruit Loops. I went to Marshall's this past weekend. I found like a Fruit Loop candle. I was like, I had to put it down so quickly. I'm like, this.
So it's a shot that tastes like Fruit Loops.
Yeah, but I drank half a bottle my sophomore year.
You know what's funny? I saw a TikTok of a bunch of 20-someths, and they were playing a game where they had 15 tall boys with paper bags over them, all on the table, and they all had to randomly grab one, and that's what they were stuck drinking. And so, you had Busch Light, Miller Light, Platinum. The first girl reaches out, pulls her thing out. It's a Four Loko.
No.
Yeah, literally, I am watching this, and I'm like, oh! And, there is no drink that makes me recoil more than that. And what's laughable is I could drink 2 in one night. Like, we were doing way too many Four Locos.
Oh.
And we had Four Loco Fridays, and it was like when you were, bad stuff.
We weren't into that. We were into, like, my girlfriends and I, and every time we get together, our college friends, we get kinky. Have you heard of that?
Is that wine?
No, it's like a liqueur, but it's like pink. It's like a coral color. So every time we get together, I always have to buy like the airplane bottles, or we just we buy a bottle and we just do shots for shots. Like, there's some days where it's like, oh, this tastes good. Like, this is nothing compared to college. And then other days we're like,
ooh.
Like a couple weeks ago, we did that when we were out like on a glamping trip. I wouldn't say it's camping. We got a nice house and everything. And I was like, oh, look what I bought. And they're like, my nickname in college was So. They're like, oh, Sos, we hate you. Like, you're the worst friend for doing that. But there's some things I'm like, I'll never drink again. Like Four Loko, I had it once in my life, never again.
I can tell you,
Or Jamba Juice.
I can at least proudly say that I started outgrowing the taste well before the end of college.
Yeah. So back to Hofbräu House.
Yeah. Yeah. So Kevin and I go to Hofbräu House. And there's this waitress. She's looking great. And she's got a bubbly personality.
Okay.
This is somebody who's at work, and she's just trying to do her job.
Mm-hmm.
Back to, like, the question we were posing before. But she's also, like, kind of like bartenders. Like, there is no secret that bartenders recognize that if I look pretty and I flirt it up, I'm going to get more. So I exploit the shit out of that.
Oh, yeah.
And as they should,
Their
as you
tits
should.
are out, everything's out.
And it works. So when it pays off, can you hate them for doing what works? So you've got this girl who's already in a revealing Hofbräu House uniform.
Oh,
and
yes.
she's all about just personality. She's popping. Now, I'm a bit more of a social person.
Mm-hmm.
I am feeling like socially, I'm really vibing with this girl.
Right.
But also, it's like, tonight's not the night. We're just getting started. We got we're meeting up with people. I can't remember. I think we were going to a comedy show, something.
Okay.
That was it. We were seeing Sam Tripoli. It was a great concert, a great comedy show.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
we
saw
were
that.
going to see a comedy show, and so we're taking it easy.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not even gonna, again, back to the point of getting over the first hump of denial is the hardest.
Mm-hmm.
So there's enough nights where you're like, tonight's not the night.
Right.
So she's also really fun, and Kemp starts really liking on her.
Oh, no.
So I can see where this is going, and I'm just thinking to myself, like, Kemp, this ain't going to go the way you think it is. Because I also feel like if she was fishing for one, I'm being a jerk bias, but I don't think it was for you. So I kind of bit
was
my
just a
tongue,
friend.
and I was but also being a good friend.
Yeah.
He was like, "Dude, I think she likes me. I really like her." I'm like, listen, man, go for it. Like, if you're we're in a guy group, we're not the Abercrombie bros that are just slinging D. So, like, listen, man, it never happens anyway. So let's get a touchdown. Like, if somebody's gonna do it, I'm gonna cheer for it. So shoot the shot, dude. So you can see him throughout the dinner. He's building it up. Now he's telling himself he's gonna do it at the end of it. So now when he comes up, he's really hamming it up. And the end of the meal comes up, and I think we paid our check. And he was like, "So listen, I gotta give it to him. He did much better than I anticipated." And he was like, smooth, asking her for a number, and she gives him I don't like dating customers, and I'm at work, so I kind of want to have that line drawn respectably, but also Kemp's never going to see you again.
Well, I want to say, like, how often do you go to Hofbräu House? It's not like you're going to McDonald's drive-thru. It's like, I can't even tell you the last time I went to Hofbräu House. I mean, it was a very long time ago when I did, but, like, that's an excuse.
Back to the checklist of yells that we're trying to siphon out and figure out.
Yeah.
Then you've also got this understanding that girls ladies, what do you prefer? Girls, women, ladies?
I don't like women, because I'd rather be called, like, I don't know, girls or ladies is fine by me.
Right. Okay, so
get
ladies,
offended by
there's
girls.
this statement or kind of understanding that the ladies prefer that, or they tend to appreciate not consistency, but like showing that you care. And like, I said no the first time, but then like he kept trying and he showed that like, and it wooed me over. And it's like, wait. Is it no and shut the hell up and leave, or you want me to keep trying? And so it's one of those like, how many times do I got to go, hey, let's go. You free? Well, this one, I got a batch. How about this one? So here's a girl that where we've known each other for quite a while.
Okay.
She went to college with me. And we were supposed to set up like, just to catch up.
Right.
But also to
But
lay a groundwork.
Yeah, I get to what you're going.
Let me buy you a bottle of wine. I'll Venmo you for it. We'll Zoom chat and just shoot the shit. Because then that will give me an excuse to go all the way out to where you're at.
Yeah. I mean, that's better than most.
Right.
Yeah,
And
show
so
up at our doorstep.
she's all about it.
Yeah.
Then the day comes, but it also took like the second try. Now it's the second try we're supposed to do this. The day comes and it's like a half hour beforehand, and it's been a terrible day at work, and I'm really sorry. Can we try for another time? That's fine. Sure. I have no problem with that. So then she tells me, hey, I'm in Ohio. I'm in Columbus this weekend. So we should get together.
Right.
I'm like, that's perfect. It's 2 hours away though still, so I'm going to make a weekend of it. I convinced Kemp to get a hotel downtown in Columbus. We both get a hotel room. We get all of our fraternity brothers in Columbus. We got like a whole party of people to go to Topgolf. When signing up for Topgolf, you have to, when you are making a reservation for 2 tables or more, like a party, you have to come up with an event name.
Really?
So I came up with Kemp's Divorce.
Oh, I saw that. I saw that on Instagram, and I saw that, and I was about to text you. I'm like, Alex, what is this?
I go up to check in. I go, hi, I'm here for Kemp's Divorce, and they're like, wait. We have been talking about this all week. Like, is he really getting divorced? And I'm like, well, he's over there. You got to go ask him. So Kemp, I got to give it to him. This guy was a freaking trooper. These people come up to Kemp and they go, so we heard about the divorce, and they're holding a sign with Kemp's Divorce, and Kemp's putting them all together, and he just plays right into it. He's like, yeah, she got mad at me for playing too much golf, so, like, here's where I died. And then the whole night became like the whole place was, all the staff, everybody's cheering on Kemp and his divorce. But anyway, we put on this huge event. We got everybody. I had other friends from Cleveland that stayed up in Columbus just to have, like, numbers. Again, no pressure. This is just to get friends together and have fun.
It's hard to get together.
Right. But if I'm going to go down there and make this a thing, make something of it.
Right.
So that day, she had a presentation that she was giving. That's why she was in Columbus. So that day, I'm like, well, we can't even check in until 4 anyway. Me and Kemp are going to go play golf. And then we'll get down there around 4. Everybody's going to go to Topgolf at 6. You and I could go grab drinks beforehand to catch up, just shoot the shit, and then we'll go to Topgolf with everybody.
Yeah.
I'm in the middle of golf. It's like 2 o'clock. And here's the thing. She left Friday. When we planned this like 2 months ago, she left Friday. When I told her, it'd be best for me, could you just stay another night and then leave Saturday? That way, Friday night, we could get everybody. She goes, oh, yeah, I'll change my flight. So she's planning. She's through this whole period, as we're setting this whole thing up, I'm told she's changed her flight and she's leaving Saturday.
Right.
So we're in the middle of golf, and I get a call from her that her boss is making her fly back for a soiree on Saturday. And that she's like, I can't get out of it. I keep trying. And she's like, I don't want to say I can't. I'm not going to be there yet. I'm going to keep trying, but it's looking like I'm going to have to fly back today. And I'm really, really sorry. She's laying it on thick.
Yeah.
And instantly, I'm like, you never changed your flight. I know in my loins that you never changed your flight.
Right.
And I get all these messages of, I'm going to make it up to you. We're definitely not letting this die. Like, we're going to reschedule. And
have you heard, like, did you hear back after that?
So the messaging has been mostly just one way.
Uh-huh.
Every once in a while, she'll message me of, like, what is, just like, how you doing, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But then there was a comedy show that we had now we're just laying it thick on the background of Kemp. Poor dude also is short. His driveway doesn't always meet the street. So when we bought these tickets to a comedy festival, Burt Kreischer's Fully Loaded, it was the greatest time I've had in years.
Where was that?
It was at the Dayton baseball field. So
Oh.
the stadium itself was full, and then our seats were on the baseball field. It was
That is
cool. We were
cool.
like VIPs. We had its own bar. From going to a comedy show with me,
Yes.
I cannot sit there for longer than like 2 hours without having to pee. So like having our own
is true.
bathrooms right there was heaven. So 6 months ago,
Yeah.
I'm talking to Kemp. I go, Kemp, these tickets are going to be worth like 3 times what they are right now. And I'm hoping you and I can possibly get some dates for that.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, let's just buy 2 tickets. And worst comes to worst, we'll have friends that'll go with us
Right.
and pay for that'll buy the tickets off of us. He goes, yeah, that's fine. 2 weeks before this event,
Mm-hmm.
Kemp's like, so what are you and I doing? Da 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 da. I go, well, do you have somebody who's taking your ticket? What do you mean? This dude totally forgot he bought two
tickets?
$150 tickets. Like, how do you forget you bought 2? So now he's scrambling trying to find a ticket. A little bit before this, though, I gave her like a month in advance.
Yeah.
You should come up and come to this thing with us. We have an extra ticket. Well, I would. Oh, my God, that sounds like the greatest time. Da-da-da. And she's just laying it on super thick. But I can't. I'm my friend's bachelorette, and that's her bachelorette party.
Okay.
So, okay, I can't combat that. And then, like, the Sunday after, she's texting me, like, how was it? Oh, I so wish I was there. Da-da-da-da-da.
Mm-hmm.
So, here's where I'm at.
Mm-hmm.
I can't even get you on Zoom, right? And I
Yeah.
haven't attempted it because on principle, it's like, okay, if you're going to close that door, I expect you to, like, be like, hey, you want to do this again? Like, I've already tried to reschedule, so that died.
Right.
Then I spent a lot of money building a weekend around you in Columbus,
Mm-hmm.
and I know for a fact in my soul you didn't move your flight. But we'll chalk it up to the mean boss, because that's what you're telling me.
Right.
Then I want you to come to this thing, and it's because it's your bachelorette party, an untrumpable event.
Yeah.
And then following it, you're still asking me about it, seemingly like you're interested.
Then do something.
So the question is this. How many times does a girl look at you with a justifiable response before you, A, take the hint, right? Like, take the hint. She's just trying to be nice.
Yeah.
Or it's the flip side where she is simply just busy. Or it's the third choice, which provoked this whole long narrative to begin with,
Right.
which is females like to say, I want to be chased, and I want somebody who's consistent and persistent, that is like the chase. At what point is it no longer the chase? You're just trying to be nice, and I'm only upsetting you.
See, that's what bothers me with girls. Because with me, it's like, I don't know, like you probably saw it when we were talking. Like, if I'm interested, I'm going to ask you how you're doing. Like, I want to know how you're doing. Like, I guess she was doing that with you, but at the same time, it's like, if she wanted to see you, she would come to Cleveland.
That's the truth.
Or if she wanted, like, she has a car.
So here's my question for you.
Mhm.
You tell yourself that.
Yeah.
Like, I want it, so I'm obviously seeking it out.
Yeah.
If you wanted it, you would too.
Yeah, you reciprocate it. Yeah.
So that's true. That's in one world. But then in another world where the first time you ask, she's kind of interested, but not really.
Yeah.
The second time you ask, she's like, this guy, he's growing on me. The third time, that we've heard of those stories where, like, he was persistent and then I fell in love and da-da-da-da-da. So where's the balance on that? Where, like, the first 3 not interested kind ofs led to you then becoming interested. Or, like, I don't know.
It's, like, hard to, like, I personally would cut it off.
You have to.
You have to, because it's like it's beating a
with
dead
her,
horse.
that
With her,
situation,
But
certainly.
like with girls, I don't, like, being chased and everything. I get that. Like, I mean, with the guy I'm dating now, like, it's a lot different, like, how he approached with things that other guys have. But I get that. Like, I don't know, the whole chasing thing is just...
It's weird.
I think I'm an anomaly.
Certainly. No, definitely.
I think I am, because, like, I don't know, I like straightforwardness. I don't like the, oh yeah, it was so nice seeing you, and then you never hear from them. Or, like, you text them, like, oh, it's so nice meeting you, and then you're like, oh, like, I always, whenever time I'm going on a date, like, I'll let you know when I get home. And I'll be like, here you go, I'm home. And then it's, like, silent for, like, a day. And then you're like, hey, how are you doing? And then you get the text message, like, they just Googled how to say no to a girl or I'm not interested. It's seriously the same thing, like, insert paste. And
what is it? I'm curious. What's
like,
the statement? Because I've never been fly enough to ever find myself in that position.
It's like, oh, I don't feel like feeling the connection. Like, I wish the best in your next endeavor.
Like they're Shakespearean.
Well, it's funny because, like, if I had to do that, I was like, Mom, what should I say? And I would send my mom, like, draft messages, and she's like, no, that's too forward. Or, like, how about this? And then I would say something, like, really sarcastic, and she's like, don't say that. I don't know about you, but, like, with me, like, I would talk to my mom about this. I'm like, okay, because, like, I know, like, our parents.
I admit it. I talked to my mom and my sister about this girl scooping cheese.
Yeah, it's true. I mean, I don't know. After every single day, even with you, I would, like, the first day, I always be like, I call my mom when I'm going in. And then I call my mom, like, oh, the date's over. And she's like, oh, that was short. My mom.
But also, you're in a different state. I could see part of it being just like a safety thing.
Oh,
right?
not
Like,
for me.
I'm...
No. Well, yeah, there was, like, one date in particular where it was a safety thing.
Really? Can I hear about that?
Yeah. But for everything else, it was, like, not. Like, for me, it was just like, Mom's like, okay. She was kind of like my vent, like, okay, how was it? Would you go out with them again? And kind of right there, I was like, I would go out with them, or I would not go out with them again.
Interesting.
The bad one was, like, this winter. So I don't know if you had this, but when I was dating, I was always on Bumble, Hinge.
Yeah.
And then there's, like, a Sunday morning, you wake up, you're like, I'm not getting anything on Bumble, I'm not getting anything on Hinge. Because to be honest with you, on Hinge, I never reached out. The guy,
right.
The guy,
that makes sense. It's how the app's kind of set up.
Yeah, the guy I'm dating now, I actually reached out to him.
Okay.
That was the anomaly. That's a whole other story. But I downloaded Tinder. So I was like, oh, like, whatever. We'll see what happens. I put my whole profile together. I'm like, this is, like, literally just copy paste from the other dating apps. Like, probably guys I've dated or guys I've gone out with are probably like, all right, Jackie, just copy and pasted. Like, whatever.
So everybody does.
You know, so I matched with this guy, and he was really good-looking guy. He was older. I usually have my age range, like, I'm 28 now, but when I was 27, I had 27 to 32.
Okay.
Then as the matches went, I would go up and up, and then when I went out with guys 34, 35, I realized they're just bachelor lifestyle.
Really?
Oh, it was very interesting. So
in what way?
Like, in the way that, like, the 34, 35-year-olds, the ones I went out with, at least, are like, they don't like their family. This is just the common theme.
No, I bet.
They don't like their family. They're not settled down. They have a job, but they don't know if they really like their job. They always have a dog.
Because there's a lot of companionship.
But you also know on the Hinge profiles, there's always a dog involved in a guy's picture.
Well, did you know that there's, like, a lot of statistics that show that it helps?
It has. I
and again, that's the
that.
shit we're thinking about. I can't just come up and schmooze to you at the malt shop. Now I got to trick you with my freaking wiener dog.
But Roxy is cute. I will say she was just sitting up watching us for, like, the first half hour. She's adorable. But that does tug a heartstring. At least for me, I'm a dog person. Cats, that was a thing. I would swipe left or I would say no if a guy has a cat. Oh, we talked about this.
First
Cats,
off, I think you have toxoplasmosis. We've talked about that 100 times. I've talked about it on the podcast. But also, I think there's a character type, right?
I 100% agree. I mean, you can do a whole podcast on that.
That weak betas like cats, males and females.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
So I'm going to leave it at that.
So anyways, this guy, I met him on Tinder, and he's like, hey, do you want to go out for drinks tomorrow night or 2 days from now? I'm like, yeah, this is quick. Why as well? Like, okay, you're good looking. We seem like we have stuff in common. He works in similar
industry. How old was
he? 34.
Oh, and you were 27?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And I was like, okay, like we have similar industry and work. I'm like, okay, we can talk about this.
7 years?
Yeah. Well, like I work in manufacturing.
That's not old. That's not older. But it is weird. Like at 34 to 27, you don't think of that being an age gap.
Oh, it's huge.
But 28 to 21, you'd be like, you're a freaking creep.
Oh,
at least I feel like a creep.
Yeah, I've talked about that with my guy friends before, where it's like going back, it's different. But yeah, for me, I always went older. And it was always interesting when I would go out with them. But with this guy in particular, I get out of my car. He, like, hugs me. We meet at a canteen in Broadview Heights. We hug. And then we're sitting down. Have you been there?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. In Broadview Heights, I love it.
So we sit down. He's sitting next to me. We're at a booth. Like, can you sit across from me? No, sitting next to me. Literally caresses my leg. And I'm like, please don't touch me. I don't like being touched. And then, like, grabs my butt. And I was like, I'm done. And, like, the conversations we have were, like, really
Did he seem maybe drunk or anything, or was this just him?
I don't know. I think there was something off. Like, and then then we get to my car. He's, like, trying to kiss me. And, like, he ended up kissing me because I was just like, I'm just getting in my car. I got sick to my stomach. Like, I ended up throwing up, like, all horrible. And it was just my gut was telling me, like, something is wrong. Like, I felt so unsafe. And I saw his car right behind me. So I'm calling my mom and was like, okay, like, yeah, I'm not feeling well. Like, and I was, like, just driving around. And he calls me. He's like, oh, can I come to your place? I'm like, no, like, mm-mm.
And he was following you while you were driving around?
Yeah, well, just down the road, because you know where I live. It was just down the road, and I just, like, went on the side.
But did you drive, like, away? I would have just driven, like,
I went in, like, a circle. I did that.
He
He stopped after that, and then he called me, and then he's like, oh, am I coming over? And I'm like, no means no, you're not coming over. I mean, he was the exception. That was the only time I felt ever uncomfortable.
Wow.
I mean, all my other times I've gone out on dates, like, I felt comfortable. I mean, did the guys
didn't work? No.
Did they work? No. Did the guys look like their pictures? No. But, I mean, that's why I have a good story.
But again, think about that, too. Okay, so there's layers to this. Mm-hmm. Yes, do I get emotionally fueled when I talk about, like, the boxes ladies tend to put males in, right? Mm-hmm. Like, but also, you're ignorant if you don't acknowledge that they're justified, right? Like, I get offended that you want to encompass me with that guy, but also I need to acknowledge that that guy exists, and how else are you supposed to distinguish me from him? Right? How if you're looking at pictures, you're reading bios, what possibility do you have at distinguishing him from me other than dipping your toe in the pool? And sometimes once you've broken that seal, it's too late.
I think part of it for me is the conversation I have with the person.
Through the text?
Yeah, or through the app. Like, once I connect with somebody, like, I'd rather be with talking to somebody that sends, like, long paragraphs or, like, we have stuff in common. Like, I told you how, like, one guy said, like, if your left leg was Thanksgiving, your right leg was Christmas, can I visit in between the holidays?
Oh, my God.
I found out that was from Deadpool. My mom looked it up for me. But I was like, next. I'm like, no way, Jose. I'm dealing with that. But, like, for me, it's the conversation. I don't know, like, that was something two guys would ask you, like, oh, what's your love language? Do you ever get that?
Well, but see, again, when you ask, do you ever get that? What's weird is back to the point. Ladies will text you, "Hey." I have to come up with something intellectually stimulating. Like if you had an entire day free to yourself, how would you spend it?
So you're an anomaly too, because I felt like guys, like I was the one driving the conversation, and it was like, it was like, it's always like, oh, how was your weekend? Like, and this is like a Wednesday.
I also think, and this is something that I wanted to intertwine. I'm going to cut to a quick TikTok.
If I were skinny, would you date me?
It doesn't matter.
Non-skinny guy here. I just want to say that she is lying through her teeth. It is a bold-faced lie at that. It definitely does matter, more than you think. Anyone that says otherwise is very clearly lying to you. Your physical appearance says a lot about your character, especially about your work ethic. And if you look like me, you have very poor work ethic. You got no respect for yourself, no ambition, no drive, and no goals. Trust me, bud, she sees that about you too. You're lucky you can fix it. And yeah, I mean fix. Stop making excuses. Go out there and do it.
Okay, hold on. First, I'm going to explain to you what happens to the TikTok. So, there's this guy that goes around, and he's going viral for going up to gorgeous girls, either on the boardwalk or Venice in California. Like, he's in New York, he's in L.A., he's going to gorgeous girls, and he's like, if I was skinnier, would you date me? And the girls are always like, it's not about that. And you're just, I would totally date you. And it has nothing, I would date you now. And he's got tons of them now.
Yeah.
And then it cuts to this dude who is getting his life in order, but you could tell is at the beginning of a very long journey. And he's got a scraggly beard, and he's like, it's bullshit. Like, they're full of lies. And there's nothing wrong with that. It's your nature.
Yeah.
Like this whole belief that, people are attracted to Lizzo, no matter how much you want to force Lizzo down our throat, not a single person made the argument that Jonah Hill is attractive. You guys are just, be body positive. No, nobody, the world could not be more cruel to that poor guy.
I know.
That dude has faced hell and back, and it's because we make men face the realities of this game we play, but then we lie when it comes to females. And I just bring up that TikTok because it shows how, we, poo-poo, ooh, it doesn't matter. But it all does really matter. That's been a theme here.
And I think it's the camera, when it's it'd be like, oh, there's, it's,
right.
It's it's your presence. You know it's going to be on TikTok. I don't know about you, but it was interesting.
Right?
I went to a disco over Mahal's for ABBA. I'm a big ABBA fan. No lie. So I went with my friend Alyssa, and there is this guy going around. I was like, hey, can I tape you for my TikTok? And I was like, I don't know what your TikTok's about. I was like, no, thank you. And he was like, got offended, and I don't know if he was drunk or high or something. So he asked again. He's like, can you be on my TikTok? I'm like, no. But that's the same thing. Is if I said yes, then I'd be like, all prim and proper, or I don't want to make a fool of myself because who knows where this TikTok video is gonna be surfaced. And I think that's probably what those girls were like that, because they're like, oh, the camera's on me. I need to say what's, what reality. Not reality, but what the
society expects.
What society expects.
Or what makes me look good in front of those people.
Oh, mom and dad are listening.
No, you're right. You're right. Not even that. The world's listening, and I don't want to be canceled. Well, so the reason I bring up that TikTok, though, is because there's this, it's what it's on the inside is what matters. It's no. It's a healthy balance of the two. And we cannot ignore the nature we're playing with here, and that's just the laws of attraction. And so when you go, you're an anomaly, I'd be lying if I said I didn't have to work harder. I guarantee the guy that's making you drive, you're going to earn. Ladies can go up in leagues. Guys can only go down in leagues. And I know, speaking in those crass terms, only sounds atrocious, but the reality is you could work so it just feels like I have to peacock more because I'm way out of my league.
Oh, that's why I feel bad for like guys, especially on the apps. Like I would talk to like guys I've dated, and I'm like, oh, like we talk about the dating apps. And I feel like that's something that like I want to talk about. It's like, yeah, we met on a dating app. Like, let's talk about it,
Right?
Because I'm curious as a girl. Like, I would talk about like, oh, I got on dates like 4 guys in 1 week, and I would tell a guy that, or just someone I'm friends with, and like, oh, I've gone out with like 1 girl in 2 weeks. Like, and for me, it was like, it's why when you like see how many guys I went out with, it was just like, it was in like batches.
Yes. Yeah. No, it never happened. I've never lived that life where it's like, oh, I've had 2 dates in one night, or had a full weekend.
I've done that.
Yeah. No, I can say for sure I've never had 2 dates in one night.
I think that's with guys is different because I think
I can't afford that.
I think I read a statistic that there's like more guys on there than girls.
I wouldn't doubt that. I mean, it definitely seems like, but again, that's because women are the deciders. Like, men will just pick the first thing that as a guy, what I could tell you is it's amazing to me how quick our male friends wife up. Like, so fast. And it's like you look at the person, you go, I've known you for so long. This actually is not the right person for you.
Yeah.
And it isn't, but there's this kind of like, I don't know if it's this need. I don't know what it is in guys. But like, I know that isn't the narrative, that like normally it's the woman that wants to like hook them and get them into the long term, and the guys are just there for the hookup.
Right.
That's kind of it socially, like, that's what it's become.
Yeah.
But I think the individual males are just so desperate. Being alone is so miserable that they're so desperate that they just wife up the first thing that's permanent or that could give them permanence. And because again, I'll look at my best friend who recently broke up with somebody who I would have thought for sure he was marrying. And he won't get back on the apps, and it's like, I get it. Yeah. He's also hoping that maybe this thing opens up again.
Yeah.
But for the guy who, in another life, had she not broken it off, would have definitely married her, now it's just so bizarre that, like, it wasn't meant to be. She clearly saw that. She turned it off. But he would have wifed her in any other instance.
Yeah. I feel like also, too, when you get older, people go faster, I've noticed. Like I was with a guy for a year and a half, and I was 26 at the time, 27. He was 30, 31. And our relationship, also because of the pandemic, like our relationship, I lived with him. Like, I lived with him for almost a year.
Wow.
Yeah, you didn't know that. Yeah.
And that was because of the pandemic? Or?
I think it was just like my rent was going up, like not going up, like my rent was ending, and then it was like, okay, I really like this guy. I love this guy. I went to Italy, came back. I was in Italy when the pandemic hit. I came back, and it was just like all these emotions, and it was like, I personally want to live with somebody before I marry them.
Oh, you have to.
You have to.
You know what you got to do? Is go on a vacation with someone.
That's the truth.
That's how quick you learn.
I mean, I've never been on a vacation with a significant other besides like going to see my family or going to see their family. But I've never done that. Yeah, a little bit more. But yeah, besides that, I have never. But I think that would be a telling. But going back to that, it was when we broke up. I mean, still to this day, I mean, at the end of the day, it was not a match, and I know that. But if you talked to me back in February of last year, I was like heartbroken. But we moved so quickly because it was like all of his friends are married, all of his friends are having kids or starting to have kids. He's the only guy that's not married, not engaged. And he's like, I got this girl. This girl loves my family. Vice versa. We're with each other every single weekend because of the pandemic. And I was like, I really thought that like that upcoming summer, like in 2021, I was going to be engaged. I really thought so.
Really?
Because we just moved super quick.
So if you don't mind me asking, What was the catalyst that kind of caused the part, you know?
It was just like like I have friends of the opposite sex, like, that, but like he had a friend that was very, loosey-goosey, and so he wanted to go on vacation with her. To Miami, and he went there before we started dating, like that summer we met, and he wanted to go on vacation. And with me, that's a tough, like, cheating is a no-go. Like, that's just from my past. Like, my father did that. Like, it's just like, like, even the thought of it, I'm like, just tell me right now.
Right.
So that was
right
like the camel. Like, that was just like the thing that hit me. And then I don't know, I think it was just that and together all the time. And then also the expectation of me coming home after work and making him dinner. I'm not joking. That was the expectation.
What?
Yeah, like he wanted like a home-cooked dinner, but he got home at 3:30, 4 o'clock.
So he was home before you?
Uh-huh.
Okay, if I was home at 3:30, I'd be making dinner just because I don't know. Is that a bad expectation? If, let's just say in another world, I come home at 3:30, in a world where I'm still stuck living the lawyer life and doing my podcast on the side. If I want to, like my dad, we have a shopping center. So like when he would come home from work, the rest of his time was paying the bills, running the contracts, and like running a business outside of his work.
Right.
Now, I will never say for a moment my dad missed a second of my life. We sat at dinner every dinner we sat as a family.
So
he was at every sporting event. My dad was nothing but involved. But I can say for fact every other moment was spent working. I respect that because he was able to build a very great life for us.
Right.
So I see the benefit in that. My mom, I was a part of an old lifestyle. So I had the benefit of having a full-time mother. That was her job.
Yeah.
Her job was to care for us, and we flourished on nothing but her care and love. So there's this element of the old world, but this new world where, like, now my sister will probably be the breadwinner in her household. She's probably going to be the richest person to come out of this household until I become the next Joe Rogan. Once I'm worth billions, then she can kick stones. Until then, she will certainly be the highest grossing member with the Kurgat last name. So at the point at which she gives up that last name and she marries someone else, they have to sort out this new world where he's probably working, she's working. Does she stop working to care to the kids? Does he stop working? Because my neighbor's right next door, the wife makes BOCO bucks.
Yeah.
The husband is a deadhead that wears camo or tie-dye every day, smokes blunts on the back porch, and he just lives the stay-home dad life.
Yeah.
He's also the nicest human you'll ever meet in your entire life. But it's just funny, like, they still had an element of like what we had, but just mirrored in an opposite fashion. So the question is, but again, would you feel like that was a chore if you were seeing the benefit of his work for you?
Yeah, I mean, for me, it was like, it was just, I don't know, it was so early on in the relationship.
Right, it's too early.
And for me, it was like, I was kind of thinking back on it, was like, I reflect a lot about that relationship, or even like my relationship from college, because I'm like, I'm completely different from where, I mean, I feel like I'm the same person. Yes, all my friends are like, Jackie, you're still the same. But like, I personally feel like, I don't know, just different phases of my life. But with him, it was, I also feel like it was just traditional. Like, that's how his mom did it. Like, that's how he was raised. And
I do believe our generation is going to
it's a struggle.
Establish a new tradition. It's going to evolve into something new, but I hope at least what I can build is some type of variance of the two, right? Like, there's nothing that can substitute mom love, but also too much mom. This comes down to a Giannis Pappas, who's a comedian. He has this premise. His new special is called Mom Love because it's literally about, like, there's not enough dads. There's no masculinity anymore. And so, like, you need somebody to tell you, my dad is the meanest fucking guy ever. I mean, I will come out and be like, do you know how fat you look in that? Like, you need to go change. My mom would never say that to me, ever. And I get so freaking mad. Like, I just want to kill him. But then also, like, somebody's got to tell you that.
Get the tough love.
Somebody's got to tell you that. Like, you know, like, it's this delicate balance of the only reason you want to be sheltered from that blow is because what it makes you confront about yourself. Yeah. So it's for your own good. Again, like the magazines and stuff. You know, the swimsuit model edition made the most for Sports Illustrated because it was things that were not attainable.
Right.
Like, it wasn't real.
No.
That bitch has never eaten a cheeseburger. And I'm not going without a cheeseburger.
Yeah.
So I applaud you. I buy your magazine because I go, you did the one thing I'm never going to not do. That's why it's astonishing. But if I'm sitting there holding a magazine with a girl with a bigger Big Mac than me, I go, I'm not impressed. I could eat 3 of those too. So it's one of these, like, we're kind of fooling ourselves.
Yeah.
I definitely would never expect that of my girl. I would probably start hoping it would develop itself once you become my fiance.
Mm-hmm.
But again, like you said, I was expecting it next summer. We weren't even there yet, and you're expecting it. It's maybe around that point where, but also, I guarantee you, at the point at which you go, I hope he proposes, or I'm expecting he proposes to me next summer. At the point at which you're at that point in your head, I've already made you so many dinners, I would freaking hope you'd want to impress me with something. I built a fire brick oven right back over there. I'm so proud of that thing.
Yeah.
I will make you a pizza till the sun comes down.
I remember you telling me about that.
I pride myself in my ability to cook. So I would like the opportunity to show off.
Yeah.
So again, that's not a common male role, but I would love to do that. And I think once you do that enough, I shouldn't have to ask for it. I think I would hope that'd be something you'd want to impress me with.
And I think that's something too, like, it's funny that you mentioned that, because, like, after that relationship, like, the guys I've gone on longer dates with or anything, like, they made me dinner.
See?
So, like, they would be like, I remember one guy I went out, we dated briefly this winter, and he was like, come over to my place. I'll make you dinner. So I'm thinking, like, okay, just like a simple chicken, whatever. It was like full blown. And then he did like his pear, like special dessert that his grandmother would make for them growing up. It was like, oh my gosh, my heart's melting. And then like he came over one time and I made him dinner, but it was just like nice. And then more so was like, we can cook together. We have that conversation. And that's something that I was missing with that last relationship.
Well, I will say this.
I think it's important.
If I'm cooking for you, I don't want you involved.
No?
Not at all. Just sit there with your glass of wine and we'll chit-chat.
Yeah.
I am very hands-on with my cooking process, probably because I am Chef Ramsay. Like, I don't care what anybody says. I'm damn good. So I, just don't want you to screw it up. I want you to sit back and go, like, this is so good, and be like, I know, and you did nothing. You did nothing about how great that is. And I think that is also probably a toxic part of my personality.
Yeah.
But cooking, there's just, like, what are you going to do? Chop onions? That does nothing for me. I might as well have just chopped the onions with the garlic. Like, what stinks about cooking is if I were to incorporate you, it would only extend the process.
Yeah.
Like now, but again, if that's the thing, my mom and I forgot, it was like last minute. It's like 2 weeks or a week out from my mom's birthday, like last year or 2 years ago. I didn't have a birthday present for her. And I'm like, what am I going to get her? What am I going to get her? So cheap, lazy, not cheap. It was not cheap, but just like cheap as in like lazy and just quick. I'm like, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to buy her this wine experience where we paint and drink wine and it'll be
those are fun.
And they're great. It's
Yeah.
an easy cop-out. You go like, this is what I got you. Until the day arrives,
Yeah.
and you're like, shit, now I got to go spend
gotta
like
go.
3 hours and drink wine and paint with my mom. And it's like, that was a blast. And it was something we did together, and it was a whole thing.
Yeah.
But, like, there's a difference between, like, the thing we're doing is cooking. Then we don't give a shit about the end product. Like, we laughed that the tomato sauce just didn't come out just right,
Right.
You added just a little too much salt or garlic. But, like, if I'm trying to, like, because I take such pride in it, if I'm going to, like, display a meal, you can only screw it up.
Yeah.
I know that sounds terrible,
Yeah.
but it's like the thing here is the product, the date that follows. Whereas the date can be just us cooking, and then what follows is just the extra.
Yeah, and that's me. Like, for me, my love language is quality time.
Okay.
So I like spending, like, quality time with somebody. So, like, that's just how I am. Like, doing things like, I don't know, like, cooking together is something I would enjoy. Or going to, so I'm dating a guy now, and he went completely AWOL compared to other guys I've gone out with. Like, the way his strategy was. And then, honestly, it's just how he is. That's just how he is as a person, how Greg is as a person. But, like, our second date, we went to an escape room. And on top of it all, every date I've been on, it was like, I always knew what we're doing. Like, okay, we're going here, then we're going here, and then we're going here. And then with him, it was like, it's a surprise. Like, I'm going to pick you up at your place. And
Was
then
that fun?
it was,
It seems like.
for him, it was fun. For me, it was like my
The
type.
hell am I doing?
I was like, okay, like, what am I wearing? So he shows up, and of course.
Yeah, that's not fair for you. You're wearing
I'm like,
sandals,
when
and
I'm-
we're like,
yeah.
hey, we're hiking the Alps.
That's what I was, and that's with him. Like, we hike all the time. So it's like, he shows up, and I'm like, Greg, what should I wear? Like, oh, something casual. I'm like, for me, this is casual. For you, you probably think I'm dressed, like, really nicely. Like, I don't know what you're, like, this is a
Right.
second date. I don't know what casual is for you. But we did an escape room, and I enjoyed it so much because, first of all, he's very smart with his thinking, but it was like seeing how our team building was, but also it was something that we did together. I mean, there's points of it I was, like, very frustrated because I think I was right or he was right. And I was like, okay, like, we'll figure this out. But that was, like, fun.
See, I want to emphasize that I'm not somebody that does bad with cooperation and teamwork. Just cooking.
It's just
Stay the fuck out of the
that's
kitchen.
like that's your area.
And again, you know what I think it is? Now I'm really going to be projecting on my poor mother that has tried so damn hard. Like I said, all our meals were together, and I have to acknowledge my mom was cooking for my dad. She was not cooking for me. So, like, my dad just loves overcooked meat. He's like a child. His palate is so juvenile.
Yeah.
And so I think what has turned me into quite the chef was, like, I go off to college and I'm not eating dad's preferences, a.k.a. crap. And now I can make my great, and I would cook for the house. So, like, Kemp better go to the comments and admit that I was the greatest cook in his life. And so I liked cooking for my friends. Then I go to law school, and what was funny about law school, it was you had the personalities of college. Younger people and Lawyers Concerned for Lawyers is a program because all lawyers are like addicts to whatever it is.
Yeah.
Whether it's alcohol or hard drugs, lawyers are the most likely to just get caught in that wormhole.
Yeah.
So they like to party, but sophisticated parties. So I would put on the party for the people and build, and so to me it became like this presentation of, like, putting on a soiree. Any other, like, I love going to an escape room or something with, like, a challenge or, like, a Tough Mudder. That would be like 9 months into dating you, hard dating you to where I'd be comfortable to do something like that and look weak. But, like, those types of things I live for. Go for whitewater rafting where, like, it's a physical teamwork thing, or even just building a puzzle. Like, let's just get a bottle of wine and build a puzzle. That stuff all sounds great to me. I just wanted to emphasize that cooking is a sanctity that, like, people cannot invade just for me.
Oh, yeah. I need to work on my cooking skills. I need to learn, like, I need a knife lesson. I need that. I'm like, I will always cut myself or something. That's what I need.
I
can cook if I really put my mind to it. Like, growing up, my parents are divorced, so, like, my grandmother made all our meals.
Okay.
So grandma came over Monday through Thursday, pizza Friday, Subway Sunday. Saturday was kind of like, my mom's like, I don't know what we're having. Let me make dinner, or we like go somewhere or pick up something. But yeah, my cooking skills are not the greatest, but I can make like everything, the basics. It's just funny when I've been out with friends and they're like very specific in what they want and specific knives. I'm like, I don't know. It's just maybe just like the Irish, German, English household I'm from. I'm Polish mostly, but from what I grew up with, that's like what our basics were. Just bland, like meat, potato, vegetable.
That's my dad.
Yeah.
That's my dad.
So
and overcooked meat at that.
Yeah. Like after college or during college, is like, I've never had sushi before.
Really?
I never had hummus before. So it's kind of like, it's not because I was sheltered. It's just we didn't have it. We didn't have it. And like where I'm from is like a smaller town. So like we didn't really have the ethnic restaurants. Like we had the Chinese restaurant we'd always got. But like,
Can't
that's
be Chinese
it.
food.
Yeah. Oh.
So we did take this a little long, but wrapping up here, do we want to dive into your deep secrets in your journal?
Oh yeah. You thought it was like a Dear Diary.
That's right. I was petrified. I didn't know what to expect.
See,
I definitely, Do you have? I want to hear your critiques of me, and then I just want to ensure that I am self-reflective enough to hopefully be aware of them. If not, I will learn for the better, and then we can get into some of your funny stories if you have any.
Yeah, so just the background on why I did this. Oh my gosh. So I did this because I went so 2019 is when I first started going on online dates. And I just did like Bumble, Hinge. And then I realized like my first 5 dates I went on were like hysterical. My mom's like, you need to write this down. Like I'm crying over the phone. Like you need to write this down. And so I started writing them down. And then like I was dating my ex for like a year and a half. And then when I started dating again, I started going on these dates. I'm like, you can't make this stuff up. So that's why I started writing it, because usually you just need a trigger like, I don't know, like the Nelly lover. Like this guy loved Nelly. So like, okay, I could tell you about him. Oh, see, I love Nelly. So
I mean, Nelly's great. But
Nelly's great.
Nelly's great, but you're not going to know that of me.
Yeah, but like that, it's just like some like little facts. So like that's kind of what I did. I was like jot things down. So then, I look back on it like, oh, I remember this. But yeah, I mean, I kind of like. It's interesting. Like some people I wrote more, but I think it kind of depends on like how many dates I went on. Like with you and I, we went on several dates, like over the course of many months. So like I have like, things about you, like, law school, podcast. I have that. Like you're close with your family and your friends, you're funny, you're smart. And like I wrote down like where we went to like Michelangelo's. That was a great first date.
I freaking love that place.
That was a great first date.
Good.
I will say. Then I wrote down like, we went to the Indians game, the Clevelander.
I gotta say, we're reflecting on 2 great nights. Those were great times.
And then we went to, I didn't count this, but like I met your friends at the Browns game.
I counted that.
You counted that? Like right after I went to the Bills backers bar. I looked like
that was a long day.
Oh my gosh. And I looked like an idiot downtown. I thought about that. I was like, I'm wearing a Bills shirt. We're swarming.
Hell no, I want to make something extremely clear. Like I said, I have that trip to LA.
Yeah.
And I was thinking about it as I'm setting up today. And I'm like, wait a second. That's the first week in September. That should be like week 2 or 3 of the NFL season. If you see me at a baseball game anywhere in the country, I will have an Indians jersey on. If you see me in a football game anywhere in the country, I'm wearing a Browns jersey. I remember I grew up with season tickets, and I was like 13. This was like one of the first times I was sitting by myself with my friend. My dad and my uncle had it was actually, we upgraded seats just recently, and so we had 2 like second row and 2 way at the back, and we're on like the bottom bowl. So of course, I, being the inferior peasant child, always got stuck in the back. My dad and my uncle literally never once let me have the good seats. So me and a friend are way in the back, and I remember being like, this guy's wearing a Raiders jacket. Do you know where you are? You're wearing a Raiders jacket. We are not in Oakland. And this dude flipped out on me. Just flipped out. Me and my friend thought we were going to die. We were just like, all right, dude, sorry. And now, being older, I had to have been like 12 or 13.
Yeah.
Now it's like, I'm with him. You will never find me at any sporting event. And like, again, I want to go to an LA game. Yeah. It'll be the Rams versus the Cardinals. Whatever, and I will be the one person in a Browns jersey. Watch me. So pride to you. You've got your team, and you will die with them.
Yes.
And it's a fun team to cheer for.
It's funny. That was like what I got into during COVID was Bills. I was watching the Bills because football, I was dating my ex, and so football was on 24/7. So I was like, all right, let me pay attention to this. I'm like, oh, the Bills are actually doing really well. So then I got into it. Now, ironic enough, my current boyfriend doesn't watch football. So I was kind of like, I've been preparing for this. Like on dates, I talk about football. I'm like very proud of myself. Like, let's talk about Josh Allen. Let's talk about, the last game of their season.
It's like me trying to like prep up and do homework on like the Kardashians.
Yeah, like I was so proud. Alex, you have no clue. I was so proud of myself.
Praise for you.
And then he's like, yeah,
I hate football. It's for fucking Goonies.
I don't really watch football. I watch it with my brother-in-law. I'm like,
he goes, but I watch a lot of lacrosse. And you're like,
oh, no. But thankfully, his brother-in-law watches it, so that's what we bonded when we first met. I was like, football?
Hey,
football.
Boom.
So because he's very shy and introverted, and I was like, after I met him for the first time, like, oh, he's very talkative. He's like, well, you were talking about football. I'm like, well, now I know.
That's the greatest connection to guys.
So that's I think that's why I did it, because I do go to the Bills Backers bar every Sunday. What else?
Cheers to that.
What else? Oh, I wrote down like the wine. Back to the book. I wrote down the wine maze we did.
That was great. That was a great time.
Yes, we did the wine maze. That was fun.
Man, you're nailing some really fun nights.
And then we did the.
It was like a what would you call that? Like a corn maze.
The best part is
where you like got wine throughout the maze.
Do you remember when you were like we got into the wagon? Like they're driving. They drove us like 10 feet.
I'm like, you wouldn't have let me walk over here. The guy like stopped me, put his hand on my chest, like, whoa, dude, you gotta wait for the tractor.
Yeah.
And then we stood there for like 10 minutes.
And the tractor
picked us up. And then it was literally us two and one other couple. We get on this giant tractor. They drive 20 yards and they go, all right, how about?
And then we're like, okay. But I will say the wine was horrible.
It was trash.
I remember we were taking shots. We're like, this is bad.
We were literally shooting the wine. They were like, do you want the beer or the wine? And you're like, well, what's the beer? And they're like, oh, fermented pears. And you're like,
no.
Dude, what? What's the wine? Orange. You're like, I'm not winning this at all.
No, we had the chocolate one. Remember we found
the chocolate one made me.
Those moms we found, they were like lost trying to get out.
That was the best part. It was like a child's maze in broad daylight. One path and like a loop-de-loop at the end. And they're like, oh my God, can you find your way out? It's like, follow the one path.
And of course, we get to the last stop where it's the end of the maze, and then the women find us. Because we were talking about, like, I swear those women are going to find us. And they sat right next to us. We became best friends. That was a fun night. And then we did the ice cream.
That's right. Lemonberry.
Lemonberry.
That was the first time I've been in Lemonberry since high school.
Yeah, we went to Lemonberry. Oh, and then we went to Barrio and the comedy show.
Yeah. Which was great.
Joe List
and Joe Briggs. Go check out Joe Briggs, who's a comedian oftentimes is an MC at Hilarities that has been on the podcast.
Yeah.
And I literally looked at Jackie. There has not been a lot of Cleveland MCs at Hilarities that catches my attention the way he did. Still to this point, there has never been it's funny. I have proven that this is possible, that you can cherry pick your Cleveland comedians and they want to come have fun and shoot the shit and get exposure. They'll come on.
Yeah.
But there's nobody that grabbed my attention like Joe Briggs.
He was so. I mean, I remember you.
I
looked
still
at,
love him.
You looked at me. You're like, I need him on the podcast.
I'm gonna get that dude on the podcast.
And that was like such a fun night. And actually, Mary Santora, I'm seeing her Thursday.
I am so jealous of that. You did text me that.
Yeah.
I
realized after I said that, I was like, that was
No.
spell check.
I'm oddly attracted to that girl. Like, she's very attractive in so many ways. She's hilarious. Like, I find her so funny. And, they always, alpha guys, girls aren't funny. It's like,
oh, she's hysterical.
that chick is hilarious.
I hope she hits it big.
Not hope. She certainly will.
Yeah, I mean,
she will
do
be.
you follow her on Instagram? And
Oh,
everything?
yeah.
Oh, she's so talented. And, yeah, I think she's going to hit it big. But, yeah, she was good. She was really good.
Was that the last time?
It was
the comedy
last
show?
time, yeah.
So are there any critiques that I can learn from?
I think it was just your communication.
Okay, I'm going to be honest with you. The whole time I was setting up, I was like, I hope, if I could put a hope on anything, I hope that she critiques my communication.
That was it.
Because at least I'm genuinely conscious of how bad I am.
Yeah, and you were too along the way. But, like, other than that.
No, but it's very bad. But also, here's the reality of it, and I'm not justifying it, because, again, I can tell you hours ago, I was critically aware that this is what it was going to be. But somebody was making a narrative about, like, men versus women, and how, like, men's hobbies versus women's hobbies.
Mm-hmm.
Women's hobbies, my sister, who I told you earlier in this podcast, will make more money than any of my friends.
Yep.
She will. She already has the most expensive car out of any of us our age. She comes home and just exists. Like, it's her. She has her shows that she shares with my mom. She is obsessed with her puzzles. My sister does not drink at all.
Okay.
Like, it's bizarrely weird. She really does not like it. And if you see her drinking, it's because she's with other friends. She won't drink with us. And it's like more of like to show I'm not a narc type of thing versus I like it. Whereas 100% of my time, if it isn't getting my fat ass running because I don't exercise enough.
Yeah.
The reality is you've sold 8 of your hours to the government, and then every waking moment is sending emails to just get somebody, like, just trying to expose yourself to as many my hobby is a job. It's a project. And I'm always reading about new social medias because I hate YouTube. I hate that I had to spend 2 years bleeping out the word COVID because it would tank my video.
Right.
That I have to tiptoe around these algorithms. Things that you have to think about. You're trying to replace YouTube. I want to find new social medias. I need to try to get more exposure. I'm running on way too little sleep because I'm going to bed at 2 a.m. to wake up at 6 a.m. and you're on 4 hours. All these, and it's all excuses.
Yeah.
Totally unjustifiable. Yeah. But it's this weird dynamic where I have chosen a career over social life for now. And I can tell you for sure I see the cost. Yeah. There is a cost to it. And you're hoping you're doing that cost-benefit analysis accurately. But back to your point that you raised at the beginning of this thing, you go, but there's something weird about a 34-year-old, right? You alluded to it later that they live in this, like, bachelor mindset that if you get caught in this wormhole for too long, you get caught in the bachelor mindset.
Yeah.
I grew up with the cool uncle that was single, and that's why he was able to be the cool uncle. He was able to just be free, take us to things and be available, come to our games, do all these things because he didn't have wife and kids that he had to tend to. So I had the benefit of 2 dads.
Yeah.
One that was just a cool, fun uncle, and he was always with gorgeous girls, always single, living this life. And so, but now at 45. He wifes up this woman who's like 10 years younger than him.
I remember, yeah.
And they couldn't be happier. This dude his whole life has reopened itself and rebranded itself in a whole new way, better than he could have ever expected. And you want to convince yourself that the soulmate can be found that late. But then, as you had hinted to earlier, there's a danger to that. And some people can fall victim to being caught in that wormhole for too long. Some people can lose their ability to settle down and make that connection.
I think also too, it's like when you're going out with, for me, older men, it's like, where do I see myself? Like, if this were to go long term, like, will I fit in their lifestyle? Because I went out with guys and they're just always traveling, or so for work, or it was also a lot for pleasure. But I was like, where do I fit in? Like I want to marry, I want to get married, I want to have kids. Like,
but see, that's what kills me too. Is I'm at a point in my life where I've been in nothing but debt in all my time. Again, those periods of my life where it was work and now it's work and then hobby. It used to be work and then more school. It was nothing but school. When law school, you were going to bed at 2 a.m.
Can't imagine.
Doing nothing but homework for free. And you're in debt. You're poor. So it kills me that I'm finally at this period in my life where it's like, yeah, girl, I will totally buy a hotel in Columbus, build a whole weekend. Let's go to Cabo. Like, you finally have the freedom and time to do it, the money to bring it to fruition, and no one to share it with. So I could see why that's available to these guys. It's like, yeah, let's go to New Orleans, but also I don't see how you. Like, to where I'm at in this period, I wouldn't want to do that with just a couple. If I'm doing it with a couple of guys, it's because I couldn't do it with a soulmate.
Right.
That's the only reason we're doing this.
Yeah.
Is because I need this, and I can't do it with a soulmate or a partner.
I feel that. Like, I have girls' trips with my girlfriends. I mean, my girlfriends are both engaged, and I was a single one. It was kind of like, well, I can't go with, like, so-and-so, so let's go get a place in Ellicottville for the weekend. Let's hang out with a group of girls. Because, like, I don't have anybody I don't want to take somebody because it's too soon or, don't want to give them that impression.
Right.
That's another thing, too. Like, that could be a whole other podcast. Like, like, about, like, dating. Like, when are you officially dating?
Man, we just lost your camera now, too. We are chipping away. All right, hold on.
Back to the horror stories.
Yes, I would like to hear some horror stories then.
Oh, yeah. Okay, I don't even need a book because I'm like, oh, yeah. I just, like, had horror stories, like, so I went on my first date back in, like, 2019, and I was a guy I met on Bumble, and it was like, hey, you want to go on a date? I'm like, oh, my gosh, yeah, let's go out. And, like, I didn't even tell my mom that I was going on a date with this guy because my mom's like, go online dating. I'm like, no, Mom, I don't want to do it. And then I called my mom afterwards. I'm like, I went on my first online date, and I dropped the guy off at a hotel, and he wanted me to stay over with him. That was my first horror story.
So wait, the horror story is, did the date go well, though?
No. I was an idiot. Like, I should have, like, circled more questions, like, fielded more questions, and then said, yes, let's go out. Nope, he was there for a business trip. I had the one guy, I don't know if this happened to you, but, like, I've gone on dates with the same guys that my friends have gone out with.
I cannot. Okay. I'm definitely going to cut this part out. But that girl that I was talking about, the reason I know her is because. Actually, I'm probably not going to cut this out. But the reason I know her is because she dated one of my fraternity brothers. Yeah. And they were like a really close thing. But it was always weird. Like, the whole time they dated, she would always give me these side eyes. And, of course, I'm reading into it because I want to.
You want to,
But you're just like, no, you are my best friend's girlfriend. We took a trip to Lollapalooza with each other. It was like this whole thing. And I'd be lying if I said I didn't have a crush on her.
Yeah.
But then they broke up, and they had been broken up for like 4 years.
Uh-huh.
The whole time I was in law school, they had already been broken up.
Mm-hmm.
And she started reaching out to me once him and I started hitting a little bit of a rocky patch. And then, personally speaking, now my perspective of it is I haven't talked to him in a year and a half.
Mm-hmm.
He's unfortunately a narcissist, so it's just like his world, and we're all just living in it.
Yeah.
And because of that, I justified, like, well, fine, I'm going to finally seek out my ambitions with this person because she's been hitting me up for the last 2 years.
Mm-hmm.
I haven't talked to you in a year and a half. And so I justify. That's the closest thing to that regard. Now, to directly answer your question, my group of friends that I grew up with here, it actually grossed me out how much they disrespected those lines. And because of that, it turned me off to it so much that I think I'm like hyper aware of those lines, where it's like they're there forever.
Yeah.
Except for this one incident that I've justified. Other than that, it's like, you know what I think it was? There was this girl that she was my first girlfriend.
Mm-hmm.
I dated her all through high school. Then she cheated on me, dated this other guy, and then she would cheat on him with me when I went off to college. And I shouldn't. That's why I was never going to be permanent with this girl, because she's a cheater at heart.
Yeah.
She gets married to this guy. She tries cheating on him with me. So I put up my walls.
Mm-hmm.
They get a divorce.
Mm-hmm.
She tries, research. Anyway, this has been a long, we're talking a decade of this girl in and out. And during the college period, it made me sick that her and my best friend admitted, oh yeah, it was a drunken night, whatever. I would be lying if I said it did not eat away at me, as this girl's trying. I get out of law school and she wants something permanent because she wants a baby. She wants to get married. That's her life goal. She wants it now.
Yeah.
And it's I can't unsee the fact that you slept with this guy. And I know it could have been a one-night slumber thing, but I can't get over it. So those instances are, I don't know, to me, I feel the repulsion so much that I don't want to be involved in that at all.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, it's funny because my girlfriend and I went on a date with the same two guys. But it was just funny because it's they're both one was an older guy, 34, 35. He was in his bachelor life. And she warned me because I would start sending pictures did you go out with this guy? Because we both have the same type, I guess. And then the other guy, we went out.
But speaking in those terms, right, now that you're wifing up with someone, it's totally okay for Megan Sokolowski to, I couldn't resist. Go ahead.
Yeah, just because we happen to be, because I met her through my ex-boyfriend. That's his cousin. That's
it's fair.
Cousin. So that's
it's all fair.
So that's how I knew her, is through, because I knew her. I know her through my ex-boyfriend. Yeah.
I'm still on the market. That's all we're saying.
You're still on the market, Alex.
I'm just kidding. But please continue.
Oh, yeah. I'm trying to think. That was good. That was a good one.
Yeah, that when you make that face and you recoil, that's the one we want to hear.
Yeah. I went out with this one guy. It was 2019. I lived in Cleveland Heights. Right before you go down to Little Italy, I lived right on there. The apartment's there. And I lived with my best friend from high school. She was at Case Western for dental school. And whatever. She was gone for the summer. And so I was back on the dating apps. And the guy's like, hey, can I have your Snapchat name? I'm like, sure, whatever. And he's like, can you send a picture of you, a selfie of you? I want to make sure you're real. So I'm like, whatever, I'll take it.
You know what my trick was when I was in college and you'd find yourself in the possible catfish situation?
Yeah.
I'd go, I want you to take a picture holding a red crayon. And they'd be like, what? And I'd be like, there's no world where you have that in stock footage.
That's a good idea.
So I want a picture of you. And I would just think of a random thing. Like a pair of scissors.
Yeah.
Just something that I know you don't have a picture of.
That's a
in
good
stock
idea.
footage. I want a picture of you in a specific color, like a purple crayon.
I should have done that.
Yeah.
So with this one, so he asked me first, but I was like, whatever. And he's like, I'm going to pick you up.
Oh?
And I was on a first date. And with me, it was stranger danger. So I would give him the wrong address.
Oh?
So I give him the building over. So I come out, and he's like, you came out of the wrong address. I'm like, no, I didn't. I went through the back entrance. So this guy was like right around August. It was so hot. And he's like, I'm like, okay, let's take a walk down to Little Italy. It's Friday night after work. I'm exhausted. I'm in a crappy mood and to begin with. And he's like, let's take an Uber ride down. I was like, an Uber? It's going to take longer to get the Uber than the drive. So he's like, no, it's too hot. Like, we have to get an Uber. 15 minutes, the Uber comes. Conversation was so painful.
Wait, did he park there?
Yes. Conversation was so painful, Alex. Like, I'd rather get a cabbie. Like, I don't.
Then why'd you get in there? I'd be like, all right, you know what?
I
think this is over right here.
This gets better. So we get down to.
You want to know why? Because it's a free meal. I'm doubling down.
No.
I feel like if I was on the other end, I'd be like, listen.
I think I was just desperate because I was like, I didn't date for like almost a year. And then like the other guys I was talking to, like, yeah, one was panning out, but I wasn't sure. So I was like, okay, you're the backup plan. And I was like, anyway, so I went out with this guy. We went down. He's the one that we got out of the Uber, and he's like, or the Uber driver's like, are you sure this is where I'm dropping you off? I'm like, yes, this is like literally down the street. Yes, this is where you're dropping us off. We get out of the Uber. Then he sees somebody he knows at the restaurant. He's like, we can't go in there. Grabs my hand. We go into a random restaurant. Till this day, I can't even tell you what restaurant I eat at.
Wait. Was it a female or a male?
It was like a family friend. Like family friends.
What?
So we get into the restaurant.
Or it was a loan shark.
Probably.
Like, what? Wait, we gotta go here.
So grabs my hand, literally runs into the restaurant, and I'm like, did he make a reservation? Oh, no, I didn't make a reservation.
No, my reservation's across the street. But Mr. Johnson's over there, so.
No, he didn't make a reservation in general. So we sit down, and he's like, so I'm thinking, I want a glass of wine. You know, I like to drink wine. So I wanted a glass of wine on a Friday night. He's like, didn't even ask me. I'm like, I assume when I'm on dates, I shouldn't do this. But I'm like, assume that they want to drink too.
Yeah?
And so he's like, I don't, so I was like, oh yeah, I'll have a water too. Thinking like, we'll come back and they'll like, ask what glass of wine you want or a beer, whatever. I don't care. He starts telling me, we're just talking and we're ordering a pasta dish. He's like, I just got off keto. This is my first meal off of keto.
Oh, God.
I'm like, I'm not feeling great. I'm like, great. So then he tells me, he's like, what time is it? And it's like 7 o'clock.
That's called the keto flu, by the way.
I know. I was on keto. It does not work for me.
Also, keto's unhealthy. My sister, the doctor, she tells me all the time, she's like, all you're doing is depriving your body of essential carbs. She's like, we're not talking about your bread. Like, you can't even have fruit. And she's like, just so you know, your brain operates on carbs. Good carbs and bad carbs, but your brain needs carbs to transfer information. So if you're depriving it to get in ketosis, you're actually, ketosis is a pretty word for starvation.
Yeah, it is. Because I did it twice, and it does not help. But
no.
Anyways, he's on ketosis. And then he starts telling me about his fear of flying. So I'm like, oh, do you like to travel? Because that's a big thing for me. Like, I love to travel. Like, when I'm with somebody, like, if I'm dating somebody, like, I want to travel with them. Like, not, like, overnight places around here. Like, I want to go, like, around the world. Like,
right.
Like, be expected, like, I had on my dating apps. Like, a non-negotiable for me is you have to have a passport.
I like that.
You have to have a passport. So
with stamps already in it.
That is a good point. I should have added that, too. But I didn't. But anyways,
the fact that you went to the bank or the post office and like paid your $50 is not enough. Like, I want to know that things.
I need picture proof that you have your stamps in there. So he starts talking about his fear of flying, and he like gets really like emotional about it, and I'm like, okay, whatever. So he's like, what time is it? Like 7 o'clock. He's like, oh, how far away is how far is Lakewood from here? I'm like, oh, like 20 minutes. He's like, oh, I have to go to AA tonight.
I was just about to suggest, expecting a drink. The only instance where you can't is like somebody's already got a problem.
Yeah, to go to AA. And so dinner ends quickly. Like, a brunch.
Did you have a glass of wine?
No, I had
okay.
I had wine for me at when I got to my apartment. I called my mom and she's like, "What are you doing?" I'm like, "I'm opening a bottle of wine." She's like, "Wow, you never do that." I'm like, "Mom, that's all I wanted tonight." And that's what I had. But he it was so weird. Like, we got out of the restaurant, like my tag on my dress was sticking up, and he was like tucking it in and like rubbing my back.
God.
And then we got up to my apartment. We took an Uber ride up to my apartment, and then he's like gives me a hug, and I'm like, "That's it. A hug, that is it." And so I get up to my apartment. The next morning, I get a text message like, "I was talking about you at my meeting, and I just feel like our paths are not going to work out. Like, I can't consider you a girlfriend." I was like, I knew I was going to say no anyways. Like, it was just so fun. It was just so weird, like, how it all panned out. And it was just, I got the EBGBs. I was like, and it's funny, I saw him in the apps, like, this past year when I was back on there. I'm like, and nope, I'm not going to respond back to you. Yeah, I don't know. Like, I've had really bad horror stories, like, I don't know. It's just like guys, like the things that they say. I'm like, do you think before you talk?
No.
Or like the things that they say about. I had a guy who said that he's never been to the west side of Cleveland, like the west side suburbs. Yeah.
Then I would just start going like, I would just start thinking of places like, have you been to Max and Irma's in, whatever, Berea? And he'd be like, yeah, I have. And I'd be like, gotcha.
That's what that's what I was doing that.
You're an idiot.
Because within the first 5 minutes, I was so bored. And he's like, "I've never been to the west side of Cleveland." So I was like, "Oh, have you been to, like, Baldwin Wallace?" "No, what is that?" I'm like, "You don't know what Baldwin Wallace is?" "Okay." So I was like, "Oh, have you been to the airport?" "Yeah, I've been to the airport." "Well, you've been to the west side of Cleveland. Welcome." And it was just like, the guy was just so, like, uncomfortable, and he's like, "Oh my God, this date was so great. Let's go out again." I'm like, "I'd rather not."
I love those ones where it's like, we so far from jived, and they're like, "Oh my God, this works," and you're like, you are missing.
You are in
this.
Mars, and I'm on.
Also, you know what it is though? I also think personality types, I think we're too nice.
Yeah.
That like we're
too nice.
Personable, sociable.
Yeah.
So like we can make the unsociable sociable. Like you can make something that isn't working work for the time being, but it ain't working for you. You're doing all the work. So to them, they're like, this is working out. And you're like, there was this one girl, and she came. It was supposed to be the last date. The last, and in fact was the last date. But intending it to be the last date, man, I can't remember how it happened. Somewhere she just was like, kept forcefully like, I want to come over, hang out, and like watch something.
Yeah.
I don't know how I let myself do it. And I was like, whatever. Yeah, we'll come over, watch something.
Yeah.
And I'm sitting there, we're sitting there watching something, and the whole time I'm like, I'm not kissing this girl. I'm not. I'm just so far from attracted at this point. And she keeps like, then we go to, I finally escaped the whole night, and I'm taking her car, and she does this whole move. She makes her move, and she kisses me, and then she's like, I was wondering why you weren't kissing me in the basement. And it's like, yeah, man, pick up on it. And I'm walking, I remember her driving away and me walking away being like, that is the most unattracted I've ever been in a situation. And to her, what she perceived, it was like the greatest time she ever had. And it was like, couldn't wait for the next time.
She didn't pick up any social cues.
It just like, and, I feel bad in a lot of ways, but also it just, I don't know, it was one of the weirdest things. Like,
that is so weird. Like,
but I think a lot of people are like that.
I think so too, and like, I don't know. I feel like I'm pretty cognizant of something.
Is it social awareness? Is it a lack of social awareness?
I think it's 100% social awareness. Because I'm not saying like after the first day I'm expecting a kiss. No.
But again, I so very clearly knew where I shorted you.
Yeah.
Right? Like I can go, oh no, it was this. And then when you tell me it was your communication, I go, oh, well, thank God. It was what I had, at least if there was something I knew I needed to fix, it's that.
I mean,
where these other people are like, what do you mean you're not my soulmate? It's
Yeah,
like
I
you
would
weren't
say-
feeling that this.
Yeah, I think with us it was just like communication. That was it. Like, I mean, and also to be fair, like when, like we were both very busy. Like I think it just didn't match the right times.
No,
for us
right,
because
it
you
was-
were busy in the fall. Then like around Christmas time, after I saw you, we were supposed
Your
to see
brother came home. We were
Your
supposed.
brother came home. We were supposed to see a Browns game, but then you got in earlier before I did, and then it was the holidays, and then for me, I was changing my job around.
I've never found myself in like an embarrassing, belligerent state,
Yeah.
but also that is clearly why I was not. There was no world we were linking up. I
Yeah.
was just following the pack,
Yeah.
just wherever.
It's
I just
fine.
wanted to exist, and then I'd look at my phone and be like, and then I barely even processed it. I was like, well, touchdown!
Yeah. But
No, but you're right. You're very right.
I think that was it. It was just the communication. It was nothing other than that for me.
But at least, even when you default, there's a difference between defaulting and being completely ignorant to that, and then defaulting and being like, well, at least I know what's causing me to fall short. I can fix that moving forward, or you know where to be better. I think a lot of people are cheated out of the ability to get better because there's no awareness of why they aren't better to begin with.
Yeah, and I think it's big to like learn on your lessons. And I think it's just interesting too for like where I am at now with my relationship with my boyfriend now. It's like we met on Hinge. I reached out to him, which I never ever did. It was interesting. So like he messaged me and says, I hate the online dating thing. Can I call you? And he called me. We're on the phone for an hour and a half.
Wow.
No stop.
The first, so you reached out to him. Did he respond, or he just
So-
responded with, I want to call you?
Oh, he responded a week later, but then said, he's like, I hate the online dating thing. Can I call you? And I was like, I'm busy tonight because I do a lot of volunteer work. And then he gets on the phone. He's like, oh, what volunteer work you doing? I was like, oh, with the Girl Scouts, whatever. He's like, oh, I'm an Eagle Scout. I'm like, all right, case closed. Like, we'll see how this goes. Yeah, but I mean, with him, it's a lot different. Like, it's so weird. Like, I don't feel like I met him on online dating because.
It's been nothing but personable.
Yeah, and he calls me every night when he gets home
wow.
from work. I hear from him every day. He's in Hawaii right now for the military, and I hear from him. I hear from him more probably than I have when we're in the same area.
Oh, wow.
But I think that's, for me, that's something that was, like, huge, like, that. But, yeah, it's really interesting.
It is. And the thing is, there's so much variability.
Yeah.
That, back to kind of what has developed to be the theme,
Mhm.
the best thing you can do is kiss as many frogs as you can. I don't mean literally, but the metaphorically, get out there and expose yourself to as much as possible to that way, you get past a lot of these nerves like that graph was showing us. I think a lot of it is just you impeding your own self from getting out there, and then also making yourself comfortable with situations that don't work.
And that's the biggest thing is I feel like when I went on the dating apps, like I went out of my comfort zone. Like,
it very much does.
Yeah, and
you know what's interesting? I want you to expand on that. But I did see a dad go. He's on TikTok and he's like, I make my son buy everything. Like, whether it's just getting a hot dog and a soda at the Costco, thing.
Mm-hmm.
He's like, and he was going on this narrative of how much growth socially he's seen his son develop at 5-6 years old by building the confidence of just being able to walk up, buy a hot dog and a soda from a complete stranger. And those are extra. It was funny, and God, was I lucky that I built this for myself. But I'd be in college, and I made every conversation a game of how long I could keep the cat person that you're going to swipe past every time. And it's like, I already think you are incompatible because of your obsession with cats. That we have nothing in common.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I need to make myself better and see how long I can keep a conversation going with you What does that do? That trains you to just develop nonsensical bullshit questions you could care less about the answer to just try to stoke a fire and get this thing going.
Yeah.
And those are muscles that you have to exercise.
And I think that was a big thing on these horrible dates I went on. And then I think back on it now, it's like I learned like how to have those conversations and go out of my comfort zone, and
it's important.
It's important, yeah. And then when you find somebody that you're attracted to and that you like, you're like, okay, this was easy,
right?
You know.
Well, I just have one last kind of narrative thing. So at the end of this graph, it kind of makes like men lack confidence, as I said, in all of these stereotypically significant, underestimated places where you can strike up a conversation. And I laugh at, sporting events, restaurants. We kind of address that with waitresses. That's kind of a gray area. Who the hell knows? Can you hit on your waitress or not? Can you hit on the pharmacist or not?
Yeah.
I guess you shoot your shot and either come out looking the asshole or you come out with your wife. I mean,
either you embarrass yourself and never go back to that CVS pharmacy again.
And again, you're probably not going to. So what's the loss?
Exactly.
But the ones that interest me, so, sporting events, amusement parks, airports, and camps.
The airports was interesting because I actually know of somebody that met her boyfriend on the airplane. She sat next to him.
I would say, that's happened to me, where I've gone on a date with a person that I've hit it off with on the airplane.
Yeah.
I'd be lying if I said I don't sit there and hope that, oh my God, please put me next to that person.
Yeah.
Or like, please, put somebody next to me that, would be an opportunity or whatever, at least fun. And it's so easy at that point.
Because you're stuck.
But in terms of like events, concerts, the biggest one, amusement parks.
Oh, yeah.
I fall in love every 30 seconds at an amusement park. Like, if I'm in an amusement park, everybody loves going to the malls and shit for the people watching. That's a term that's... Amusement park, you're going for the people watching, not only to laugh at the guy who's so round his pants don't even cover his crack, but then also, like, the girl that's just drop dead gorgeous. You're just in awe.
Yeah.
But most people at amusement parks are dating someone. Like, what are we lying about? It's like,
that's
no,
true.
don't put it on me that I'm too shy in an amusement park. It's impossible.
Yeah.
Like, you're either with a giant group and you're all doing your own thing, which makes you an impenetrable force, or you're there with your boyfriend. Every person I'm ogling over, like, oh my God, they're also standing in line with their boyfriend.
Yeah. I will say.
That's the whole amusement park.
Yeah. I did get the Cedar Point pass with my ex.
Did you?
Yes, it was the best deal, and we went during COVID all the time.
It's great. I love Cedar. I'm specifically talking about amusement parks, thinking of all of my times at Cedar Point.
I need to go back. I didn't go this past summer.
I have my pass. I'm dying to go. So if you go, hit me up. But
I will. I have to go. It's like on. I love it there.
The narrative I have on these is, the sad part is there's a lot of places where it's not that the guy is afraid or doesn't realize that there's opportunity here. There's an abundance, but unfortunately the vast majority of them aren't single, so it's hard to siphon it out, and it
so
isn't
tough.
Conducive for it.
And like, unless you have a speed bump, the ring, then you know if they're single or not. That's the difficult part too. Because I feel like if someone hit on me and I was dating somebody, I'd be like, "Sorry, I'm dating somebody."
Right.
But I get it. It's the dating world is complicated.
It's so complicated, and you would think over 2 hours into this thing, we would have siphoned out some answers, and there's none. We crave for it to be in real life, but we realize that we're pigeonholed into the apps. It's we underestimate how difficult it increasingly gets to do it in real life when you have people who are out here saying that, I don't like being hit on in person because I'm afraid. So there's this new evolving narrative where we're deterring people from doing it in person, even though that's the preference. Then the not so preferred way is online, but that's seemingly the only way, and it's funneling into being the only way. No answers were siphoned out on what we can do. You're kind of just if there's anything to rest easy with that can bring solace to any of you, it's that we're all flying blind and none of us know what's going on and we're all scared and lonely.
Yeah, that's life. It's just, you wish it was like an easy answer, but it's like what you said, you have to kiss many.
Got to kiss all the frogs.
All the frogs, unfortunately.
Well, Jackie, I appreciate you giving me your time,
Oh,
and
of
I love doing this. I'd love to get you on again. I bet you there's more stories hidden in the black book. And I got to tell you, I came out a little unscathed, so I feel good. Like I wasn't totally destroyed.
No.
But guys, as always, if we made you laugh and we made you think, the best thing you could do to support this podcast is share this episode. If you enjoyed it, then I got to imagine so will your friends. So take that link, throw it on your Facebook, spread it around, send it to a friend that you think will enjoy it, because that's the best thing you could do to support the podcast. Otherwise, you can find all of our content on our website at www.rethinktankpodcast.com. Join the Neuro Gym, where, we'll provoke some free thought there on the website. And you can follow us on Instagram, Twitter, and all the others. But otherwise, we'll catch you on the next episode. Jackie, thank you again.
Well, thanks for having me.
And we'll catch you next time. Peace.